It's time to take control of your journey towards chess mastery. Magnus Carlsen introduces Chessable, the definitive solution for studying chess. Move Trainer uses the science of spaced repetition to identify your strengths and eliminate your weaknesses. There's no need to set up a board, remember which page you're on, or keep track of all the moves you miss. Get started now and join our growing community of over 100,000 chess enthusiasts. Chessable. Take control of your journey towards chess mastery.
Quality isn't the first thing that comes to mind when you think about chess and esports, but it affects our focus, decision-making, health, sleep, and more. What's in the air you breathe? Find out with Air Things.
Hello everyone and welcome to Chess 24. Big day here at the Chessable Masters as 8 players will be knocked out and 8 will go through to the quarterfinals. A big hello to everyone who's joining us on YouTube, on Twitch, as well as on Chess 24 for the exciting day of chess that's coming up. What an amazing event we've had so far. So many turnarounds, players leading on day 1, day 2, losing a lot of games on day 3, and it all comes down to how they perform in the 3 rounds that are coming up in this final day of the preliminaries. How is everyone doing in chat? Welcome. Let's take a look at our standings going into this final day of the qualifiers. And at the top of the leaderboard is Dutch number 1, Anish Giri, with 24 points. That's a lot of points. Right behind him, Magnus Carlsen, a point below. And then we've got the latest world number 2, Ding Liren, with 22 points. And he's, of course, also secured his spot in the candidates recently. And a really fierce performance by Ding in the event so far. The other Chinese grandmaster performing absolutely incredible is Wei Yi with 20 points. And we've got Shark, David Anton, Prague, and Hari Krishna. Now, these are the players who find themselves at the top half of the table. But of course, with 3 rounds and 3 points for a win, it's everything to play for. And I think it's really going to come down to Aryan, Vidit, and Niels, how they perform, because the fight is really for that, I would say, the 8th spot. Hari Krishna definitely not feeling safe at all. But even Prague on 7th place has to at least score a win to make sure that he feels a little safe on his journey into the knockouts. Well, he's had a sensational event so far, beating Magnus Carlsen. That's, of course, been the talk of the world yesterday when he beat Magnus for the 2nd time in 4 months. Big news everywhere. And I remember at the Oslo Esports Cup, when Magnus actually beat Prague in the matches, Prague had an interview and he said, well, next time he hopes to give the world champion a big fight. And that's what he did. A little blunder in the end by Magnus, and that was enough to wrap up the game. Let me quickly bring up chat and see how everyone is doing. Hello to everyone. And I thought we've got a few minutes today. We've got a few minutes today before startup. And well, this is the day that I'm joining Chessable Masters. So I wanted to have a little fun with all of you and to talk about the event before all the chess action begins. Of course, International Master Andras will be joining us very, very soon. So chat, I thought that just to get our brain cells working and just to get into the rhythm of things, because big day coming up, we should start with a little bit of Chessel. You guys know how much I love it, how much I enjoy it. So let's bring that on. Linus asking, when does the game start? Well, very soon, actually. I'm looking at the clock now. It's a little less than 20 minutes. We'll be talking more about that. But while everybody joins us, let's start with Chessel. And I want to do Chessel with you guys today. So I'm going to just first bring up my screen, which you know I always do struggle with. But let's go. Let's see if this works. And you guys should be able to see the Chessel screen. There it is. Now, this is how we're going to do it, chat. You guys are going to help me solve it this time. We've got six turns, I believe, to get this right. And we're going to play the expert mode because we all know that we're all experts in here. So let's go expert mode. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the first suggestion that I see in chat, and we'll sort of make this a bit of a team effort. I don't know if you know about this obsession I have with Chessable. And if you guys haven't tried it out, you have to. It's a lot like Wordle, but chess. So we've got to put in the moves and get them right, get the entire sequence right in 6 turns. So let's take a look. What's our first chat? Suggest our first move. And then as we progress, we'll know how many moves we have right and at what spot. So accordingly, we'll make progress. All right, I'll start with the first one. And the first move I see in chat is what I'm going to put through. So let me see. Let me wait for some of you to tell me what you want to start with. Okay, I see Aditi going with D4. I kind of like that option because it's something that we can use in many openings. So I think we're safe with that one. So let's go with D4. And with black. So I think the pro tip in this is, right, our first guess should be the most commonly played opening moves. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the accurate line, but let's try and get the moves that are played the most in openings. All right, D5. Let's go with Amog suggesting D5. And what do we go with next? So the thing is, right, I would suggest here that we go knight F3. The reason for that is that knight F3 is just a move that we see in so many openings. It's a developing move. You bring out the knight. Of course, I know that C4 is played more times than knight F3 in this position, but it's also a popular choice, and I feel that we're safe with that. We'll keep C4. We'll have C4 in shortly. What do you guys suggest with black here? Let's see what chat comes up with. And then I also want to see how we are progressing. So maybe you guys can give me the entire line that you want me to put in. And remember, I actually am aiming for us to get this right in the first 3 goes. Okay, so I'm getting knight F6. Done. And now what's our move? Well, G5, Ayush, would not be a great idea. I can't think of an opening where G5 is played. Well, at least not in the first 5 moves. So G5 might not be it. And what are we going with white? Interesting. So Aditi suggests a knight C3 and Ayan with C4. Interesting choices. Knight C3 also makes a lot of sense because many openings we do start with knight C3, but I think in this particular position, I see more C4 coming in. So let's go with C4. And guys, what do you think with black? How should we put this in? I think E6, because E6 we have in French. We get it in the Sicilian a lot. So let's go with E6. It's also somewhat like a Queen's Gambit decline. How about the Queen's Gambit main line? All right, well, we could go with that. So let's say E6 and knight C3 now, as some of you suggested. And you know what? The one opening that's also caught my attention in the Chessable Masters is the semi-Slav. We've been seeing that play so much at the top level as well. And in fact, I do know that Sam Shanklin has a very cool course on the semi-Slav. It's such a thing. So let's try that out. Let's try the semi-Slav C6 because we can use C6 in the Caro-Kann as well. Now we have to give one more move, chat. And you know, let's go crazy here. Let's go crazy here because I want to put in E4. Now remember, don't play E4 in this position because yes, you just lose a pawn. But the point is that we have to get E4 in because I have a feeling that, I mean, it's just the kind of move that's played in openings. So we are not playing according to the position, but we're playing according to the demands of Chessel right now. And after E4, I want to make a developing move with black. What do you guys suggest with black? Not going to go for G5. G5 not happening, guys. Let's try and think of a move with black, which we see most often in openings. And I think it has to be a bishop move, a developing move with the bishop. Bishop B4. All right, I see bishop B4. Let's go for it and let's submit. Not bad. So this is actually quite crazy because we were contemplating whether to go C4 or knight F3. Turns out that's the move order that in fact Chessel wants today. We've got it right with knight F3, knight F6. Now, chat, the other three moves that we've given into Chessel, none of them are right. So we have to think, what does white want here? I think we have to go G3, no? I think we have to try G3 because if it's not C4, there's no E4, there's no knight C3. Bishop F4, the London, of course. It could be really well done. Let's go with this choice. Bishop F4, C5, very possible. We haven't tried that out in our first sequence. I also see Phil suggesting G3. Let's go with that because it's definitely a possibility. And what's our move with black here? E6 is not an option because E6 was tried the first time around. So we're going to skip that. And I think we have to try knight C6, chat. Let's try knight C6. Well, I don't even know what this opening is. I mean, this just doesn't look like anything. Knight C6, let's go bishop G2. And you know what? Let's play G6. Not G5, chat, not G5. Okay, we're doing horribly. And I don't know. I see that my co-commentator for the day, Andras, has joined us. Maybe we can also get him to help us. Let's see if we can bring him on the screen while we figure that out. Let's continue with the challenge, chat. We've got just a couple of minutes before liftoff, and we need to get this right. So bishop F4, C5, well done on that, but it's not played on move 3. Okay, so C5 and E3. C5 is not on move 3. What do you guys think? I think it can't even be G3. What is the move here? Andras, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. I'm baffled by all this.
What is going on here? We have some really cool suggestions. Queen A5 is what Phil suggests. Rest in peace, not London. It doesn't look like that's where it's headed. C3 is an option. Do you think C3 would be?
Yeah, C3. Right? C3, yeah, C3.
All right, Vijay, let's go with your suggestion, C3. And what do you think with black? So
Bishop
difficult,
somewhere.
right?
Bishop somewhere.
Bishop somewhere because it's not E6, because it's not C5, it's not C6. Chat, bishop F5 or bishop G4? Let's go with bishop F5.
Yep.
This just feels wrong. Everything feels wrong.
It's the London. It needs to feel wrong.
Bishop F5, bishop G5. Chat is screaming for bishop G5, but bishop G5 is not correct because we know bishop F4 is played. So I'm going to go for bishop F4 on the 4th move. And now let's go C5. All right, we've got one more move, chat. We've got one more move, and we need to solve this in another minute because there's a lot of stuff going on with the Chessable Masters. We've got to get Chessel done in the next minute. What do you think about E3 here, Andras? Do you think we should go with E3?
Yep. E3, absolutely. E3 or
E3.
H3.
Okay, let's go with E3. And I'm just shocked that there is no knight C6 or E6 in this position.
Queen B6,
okay,
perhaps.
Queen A5. Everyone wants Queen A5. Let's go with it. Let's roll with chat. All right, not bad. We've made progress.
Okay, the 3rd move is going to be H3.
It has to be H3. And what do you think black played here?
That's a good
one. So it's not G6. It's not E6, guys. It's not C6. It's not C5. Is it knight D7?
H6.
H6. Wow, Harry the H pawn starting slow today. H6. This doesn't feel like it, but let's go. Bishop F4, C5, and E3. We got this right.
Queen B6.
And now what?
Oh, we tried that?
We haven't tried Queen B6. H6. Wow. So actually Jones as well saying H6. Well done on that. Knight D7 or Queen B6? You know what? Let's go with Knight D7.
Yep.
Queen B6, we should have. This is horrible. By the way, I think this is our last chance.
Oh boy.
We got to get this right. This is a bit upsetting. So no H3, H6, guys. Queen B6 is the suggestion. Well, for that, we need to move the C pawn.
But what is white's move?
I have no idea. So bishop F4 is the next move. It's not G3. Isn't G4 a move here? I mean, I would be shocked if it is. I mean, it can just be snapped up, right?
Wait, can't it be a Jobava London with knight c3 perhaps?
Oh, yes, but knight c3, did we put that in on the first line, right?
Okay.
It's not a move. So G4 is a gambit here, I'm being told. Should we trust chat? Because chat often trolls us. I'm not really sure if we are being trolled or not. But you know what, chat? We'll place our trust in you. I don't believe in G4. I don't think we're going to see this at the Chessable Masters. But we might see this on Chessel today. So let's go with G4. Have you ever seen this move before?
Nope.
No.
Not here.
Chat, I've got a bad feeling about this. Bishop G4, Bishop F4, C5, E3, Queen B6. Let's go. Wow. Okay. Last chance, Andras. Last chance, chat. And we just have to get the third move right. This would be a miracle if we're able to do this. Also, Chessable needs to tell us what is this opening. G4, as expected, is apparently not a gambit here. G3, we've already tried.
Wow. I mean, A3? I don't know.
Our producer, Sotris, is also helping us because he's like, get on with this. We need to get back to the Chessable Masters. You guys need to finish this. Well, we've got one more turn. So chat, what are we going with? This is the big one. So there's no E3, right? E3 is on move 5. Knight C3 has been tried in the first go. So it's not Knight C3. We've got to just hit in the dark on this one. What about H4? I just feel H4 is played everywhere. I mean, even on move 1 by a certain world champion these days. You know what? Let's go for it, guys. Let's go for H4.
Pull the trigger.
And with black. Okay, this is just crazy. It's not H6. Magnus did play H4.
Is bishop takes G4 the same as bishop G4?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not sure. But also, do you think knight D2 is probably a safer option? It's being pointed out by chat that maybe we should try knight D2 here.
Yeah, but then you can't play bishop F4.
We can't play bishop F4 on the next move. Okay, so H4, you're right. Bishop takes G4 is not the same as bishop G4. Chat, we're going to do this. Yeah, even I don't think it's H4, but we just got to wing it now. Yeah, bishop F4.
Yeah, you have the rest.
C5, E3, Queen B6. And my heart's beating too fast. Should we go for this? What? Tell me.
Wasn't it C3? Oh, you tried C3. Okay, never mind.
We tried C3. Knight E4 is a move, is what chat is saying. Well, hey, what about... No. Oh, you know what? Very interesting suggestion by chat. What if... Oh, you know, Andras, chat is just really strong because take a look at this. Here we go, bishop G5, knight E4, bishop F4.
Oh, genius at work.
Oh my God, guys, you're right. Okay, so C5.
Whoever said that, legends.
Legend, and let's go. And that is... This is all chat. This is all chat. You know what? I'm going to put in a petition. I think it was Riddhi Nandan who got this. I'm going to put a petition for Riddhi Nandan to get a 1-month premium membership on Chess24. Very well deserved. I'm going to make that happen, Riddhi. Well done on that. And we've got about 4 minutes to lift off. So a lot of action coming up. And how are you doing, Andras? How excited are you about today?
Yeah, very much so. Thank you, Tania. Yeah, very, very keen to see how we are going to go with the preliminaries. Still a fair few players to fight for the top 8 places. So I'm very curious to see who is going to pull through in the end. And what about you, Tania? How are you going?
I am doing really well, but I'm so excited to be here today because it's really the big day. I mean, the qualifiers is really just all about finishing in the top 8. It all comes down to these 3 games that the players have coming on, and anything can happen. Especially, I think it's Hari, Prag, and David Anton who are really not feeling safe right now. They need to make sure that they secure at least a minimum of 1 win today. And we've got some great matchups coming up. We've got a couple of minutes. So I think to set the mood, Andras, I want to bring up a couple of tweets and see how the players are feeling going into this final day of the preliminaries. Let's take a look.
Sounds good.
And there we have it with Anish. Well, this is a nice one to start with. Congratulating Vishwanathan Anand for his brilliant performance in the Superbet Rapid and Blitz. He won the Rapid with 1 round to spare, and I think he's doing really well in the Blitz section as well today. And Anish with a little bit of, well, very incredible wordplay there with Wishy Re Tiger, the Tiger from Madras in absolute top form in Poland currently. Well, also the 3 Indians playing in this event need to find their form today. Big chess coming up. Let's move on. Let's take a look at some of the other tweets. Magnus Carlsen preparing for day 4 with some paddling. And I noticed that he actually does a lot of paddling in Norway. It's a sport, Andras, that we don't have in India as much. And I think it's a bit like tennis, but it's sort of played in a room. I'm not really sure. Do you know about paddling?
I have seen it in some YouTube videos because I watch a lot of tennis, because I play a lot of tennis. And so YouTube sometimes feeds me these videos and I just look at it in confusion and I go like, what's going on? It's like squash, tennis and badminton squeezed into one sport. No clue what's going on there, Tania. I'm sorry.
Well, definitely Magnus getting ready with some workout in there, and he's got a big day coming up as well, but he finds himself in 2nd spot, so relatively quite safe in his path to the quarterfinals. Let's move on to the next one. Gawain Jones, a much better day yesterday. I didn't manage to take anything off the top 2. Gave them a fight. We'll try to keep up the momentum. The thing is, Andras, that many players, the hope to make it to the knockouts might be gone for them, but they can definitely spoil the tournament for the others. They can play spoilers. And we've seen players do that quite often.
Yeah, as long as you are in it, you try to make a difference one way or another. So yeah, kudos to them for fighting on.
And finally, Hari Krishna also looking for a big fight today. He is currently on 8th spot. I think he's the one who's in maximum danger zone currently. And that 8th place, he's just a point ahead of Vidit, as well as Aryan Tari eyeing that spot after a brilliant performance in day 3. Was very happy about my play. Hope I can keep it up. I think Aryan won 3 games in a row yesterday. Phenomenal stuff there.
Yes, indeed. And he played actually very good chess, very aggressive attacking chess, the way we like to see it. So indeed, the Norwegian brought his A game yesterday. I wonder if he will be able to retain that excellent form for the last day of the preliminaries.
Absolutely. And of course, we've got liftoff in just a few moments. Andras, the big news from yesterday was Prague beating Magnus one more time. And he's done it for the 2nd time in 4 months. What did you make of that? It's not easy to do that.
Now, any time when you can beat a reigning world champion, no matter the time control, no matter if it's online or not, even whatever the circumstance, that is definitely something to put on the mantelpiece. And Prague has just done that. So kudos to him. I think there is a very bright future ahead of the Indian GM, that is certain. I am, by the way, by default on the Ding Liren Carlsen game, purely because they are the top contestants of the tournament at the moment. But of course, we are going to switch around to have a look at some other games as well. And Magnus plays, well, I guess it's going to be a Grimfeld. That's my guess. What do you think, Tania? King's Indian or Grimfeld?
I think it's going to be a Grunfeld. A knight f3. Are we going to see a bishop g7 or d5 here? Well, we see bishop g7, and we've got our pairings up right now, and we see this is, of course, a very, very big matchup between world number 1 and world number 2. And I think, yes, both look good to make it to the quarterfinals, but also there's that whole thing of Ding making it to the candidates. Magnus has been rooting for Ding making it to the candidates as well. So a little bit of, whenever these two meet, we know that it's going to be an epic fight. And I don't know, what do you think? That finding themselves in a safe spot, can we expect fireworks? Are they going to go all out, or will they just take it easy in this first round?
I think it's going to be a fair fight. I think that they will give it a shot. I mean, even if they lose a game, it's almost certain that they will go through. So I think that they have no reason here to, just play soft chess. I think that they will go for it. They will go for it. As do, by the way, the gentleman in Vidit against Aryan Tari. Sorry. A very, very sharp Karo Khan, where once again, it's very early on, h4. I think this is called a Tal variation, which has been quite popular lately. and a6 with the idea of pulling the bishop back to d7, and now these kingside pawns are going to join the fray soon, with potentially f4, f5 being a plan here. Vidit is definitely playing for a win here, no question there.
I mean, we've seen his tournament situation as well. He knows he needs to rake up some of those points to make sure he qualifies in the top 8. And I think he's made his intention very clear with the Harry and the Gary pawns advancing so early on in the game. I love it. It means it's going to be an exciting game. Now, the first thing that we notice about Aryan's position is that bishop on d7. I mean, that is an absolutely hideous piece after I see the moves that have been made, bishop to e3 and e6 on the board. At some point, Tari has to break with c5.
Yeah, precisely. That is the plan. Although, additionally, we must point out that black often plays h5 in this structure, and white can no longer retain the pawns. And if I push past, then this square for the knight becomes a very, very nice outpost on f5 indeed. But for the time being, it's definitely white who is going to call the shots in this game, and black is more of a counter puncher in this situation. Let's have a look back at top board, or at least I'm going to call it top board, Dingliren against Magnus. It's looking like some weird Queen's Indian where black has got a fianchetto or bishop on g7. The engine likes it for white. There is still a lot of work to be done here.
You know what, Andras, let's do a quick opening tour and take a look at what's going on in all of them. By the way, chat was asking, what is the name of the opening that we had on in Chessel? And I think it was really brilliant that it was spotted bishop g5, bishop f4. It sounded like a Trompovsky, no?
Yeah, or a queen's pawn opening. I don't even know, because a Trompovsky usually wouldn't have knight f3. So I actually don't know. Alrighty, so to meet your request, Eric Hansen, the streaming legend against David Anton, is a very solid Rui Lopez with pawn d3. So once again, here the fight is going to happen about 10 to 15 moves later. On the other hand, the very exciting, once again, fianchetto setup in the Shakhriyar Gawain match. I don't know what this was. Was it a G3 King's Indian? Yes, it was. And Gawain just recently released the second edition of his King's Indian course, by the way. So I suppose that it's being put to the test right now by the Azari Grandmaster. And here this bishop h6 followed by h3 g4 definitely signals aggression from Shak. Very true to his style indeed. Another Spanish between Jordan and Pentala Harikrishna, and this is also a d3 one, which is now almost, we can say, the mainstream way to play the Rui Lopez instead of the main lines with d4. Abhimanyu Mishra against Pragnananda. The youngsters are battling it out in what appears to me to be some kind of a King's Indian attack. And boy, there is some mayhem on the board already. Whoa.
Wow, and it's all about the pawn structures here, no? I mean, taken on c6 with the pawn, it can be captured back. And I think after bishop takes c6, the big line that needs to be considered, what happens to the d3 pawn as well. We see the bishop from f5, the queen from d8, down on the board with that pawn, which means that it's impossible for white. In fact, if you go bishop takes a8, yes, there's bishop d3. But in these positions, even after queen takes a8, very often black maintains certain amount of compensation because of the bishops on the board. So a very dynamic approach here. And I think this is the clash between the two youngest participants of the tournament. We've got Abhimanyu Mishra against Prag. So a very exciting matchup here. What is your evaluation in this position? Because strategically, black's pawns look horrible. I mean, you've got these two double pawns on c5 and c6. But on the other hand, what compensates for it is the space advantage that black has.
Yeah, and let's not forget that black is currently a pawn up too, so that adds a bit of extra flavor to the position, because there might be a longer run plan with bishop back and then f5, e4 potentially maybe on the cards too. This is definitely a game that we should come back to, but I want to point out something that I just spotted from the corner of my eye in the Sam Shankland Niels Grandelius match, which is a very thematic and popular line in the Grunfeld. And here after e5, Niels played f4. Now, I'm not a Grunfeld player, but I claim to understand this idea, and I love it. Absolutely love it. The idea is that after bishop takes f4, he wants to put the bishop on this diagonal, which would cut the white king off and would make it feel a fair bit more uncomfortable than usual. And I suspect that bishop f5 is going to come soon, although g4 is definitely something that black has to reckon with.
Very interesting pawn sacrifice, f4 there. And we see Niels on the camera completely focused. As you mentioned, bishop f5, you still got g4. So perhaps black has to also consider the move bishop e6. Because after this knight on b4, you're hitting that pawn on a2. And bishop e6, if it provokes a3, you know that's further weakness in white's camp.
Yeah, that being said, Tania, that might actually... we might connect some dots here and say that perhaps bishop f5, waiting for g4, and then drop back to e6 is a clever way to do it, because then the rook on the f file is also looking at a target, combining, oopsies, the positional with the tactical ideas, maybe.
Very interesting stuff, but also it's a bit of a double-edged sword, right? Yes, you're creating an f3 weakness, but white anyways wants g4, h4, h5. So
yeah, exactly.
It's kind of hard to make that choice, but I'm expecting either bishop f5 or bishop e6 first on the board, finishing your development, and after a3, we'll see what happens. We'll come back to this. Let's take a quick look at the Anish Weyi game, and it is a knight off.
Indeed, and I see a very odd move there. A3, that is something that you usually do not want to play in any Sicilians, in particular if your king is castled queenside. This is not a happy move to make. The other oddity in this structure is that usually this position occurs with the h-pawn being back here and the f-pawn being on f3. So that would be the English attack, and that's definitely an improvement from white's point of view for several reasons. One is that the pawn on f3 covers e4, not only g4, and it also allows white to then continue the pawn storm with the h and g pawns, which is now harder to execute because these pawns would be hanging.
All right, well, a3, at least it puts Anish in a bit of a think, which is kind of rare because we know Anish is a bit of a knight-off maestro. So in these kind of time formats, it's such a big success. And take a look at the clock situation as well, Andras. Anish is down to 8 minutes, and Weyi has got a minute and a half more than what he started with. So that's definitely opening success for white.
Yes, most certainly. Most certainly. The clock is a very big weapon, and we have seen it already several times throughout the first 3 days of the preliminaries, that even better positions, Weyi actually lost a better position against, I think, Mishra on time. So definitely the clock is a major component in these shorter time controls.
Also, these kind of openings and these kind of positions, you know that there are going to be critical moments that is going to require a lot of precise calculation, because these knight-offs always end up in, you know, white going for black's throat, black going for the white king on the queen side. So it's a bit of a race to each other's king. And then the clock will really count. So I think Anish needs to step up his clock game more than anything in this round.
Right. Very important to mention, by the way, now that we have got Anish on the camera as well as potentially me soon as well, is that today I dressed for Anish because we know that Anish loves the hoodies, and I have got a hoodie as well. So that's how I am cheering for brother Anish. So I hope that he's going to do well today, because my commentary outfit is matching the trademark Anish Giri outfit. I think even his tuxedos have hoods on them, I reckon.
I think there was this poll he did, right, whether he should suit up or go for the hoodie look. And it was very 50-50. The audience was extremely split on that. Well, today Anish has decided to show up in his hoodie. And I think when we were doing the Oslo Esports Cup, a lot of our audience felt that, you know, for esports, for online chess, hoodies just feel like they fit the part. And Anish is dressed for the job.
I totally agree with you there. I absolutely agree with you. Right.
All right, let's continue taking a look around. Now, Hari is definitely a player who needs to keep things under control. Should we get a quick look and an update on how he's doing? Currently on 8th spot.
Yep. As far as the board position is concerned, he is doing fine. Very symmetrical position here. And c4 is a bit of an ugly one to play because it shuts this bishop down really big time. At the same time, now white gains very firm control of the d5 square. It is still a very positional battle. What I wanted to show you, Tania, was that you absolutely hit the nail on the head with your comment about the Mishra Prague game, because what happened here, at first I found it strange. Prague dropped back to d7, completely giving up on the idea of hitting d3 and actually offering the exchange on a plate to Mishra, who took it. And now the two light squared pieces, the queen and the light squared bishop, will indeed be able to create dirty threats. Bishop h3 with queen g2 mate, and in particular this long diagonal is definitely a very delicious place to be. And these are typically the situations where the engine's evaluation, which is sitting on dead even, is absolutely utterly meaningless. Whoa! And whilst I'm saying all this, did Harry blunder? We have c, b, bishop, f7 check.
And queen b3 on the board. That's a double attack. So king takes f7. You've got to pick up the bishop. Was that just a big slip by Hari?
I don't know. Oddly enough,
should we just back up a couple of moves and see how this happened?
So he played bishop c6 to cover the b pawn. But the irony is that the engine reckons it's totally fine. So I'm very confused because, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here. Perhaps rook b8. Yes, it's already played. And now the b2 pawn is loose. But I still feel like, sorry, that was just me playing out a move. So obviously queen takes, bishop takes, and then rook takes b2. But even here, I don't know. It feels a little bit better to me for white.
You've got to be careful, right? Because after rook takes b2, for example, in those lines, let's just show that queen a5, bishop a5, d takes. If you take it directly, at least the d5 pawn is hanging. But let's say that you take d takes e4 first, and then d takes e4, rook b2, there's knight c4 jumping in, Andras, and e5 is hanging as well. I have a feeling that this was a big miss by Hari, and he just played bishop c6 really quickly. Hard to imagine that he would overlook a tactics like bishop f7, but you just can't explain giving up a pawn like this.
Yeah, very odd, very odd. I think the telltale sign is, I mean, he's playing it very fast. He responded very quickly to all of these, and this is the first time he's taking a big thing. I don't know if he tried to cover up the blunder by, you know, playing moves quickly, sort of signaling to his opponent that it's all calculated and planned for. But for the time being, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of Black's position here.
And queen a5, now he goes into a bit of things. So one does get the feeling that something's gone wrong. Well, this is a very critical round for Hari. Now, Jordan had a very tough day yesterday, which saw him slipping down the rankings. And currently, it looks like Jordan's going to have a hard time making into top 8. But we were talking about playing spoiler here. And if Hari doesn't manage to keep this under control, things could get very risky in his path to the qualification. Let's move on and take a look at the Pragnananda game, because Andras Prague as well sacrificed an exchange for compensation. So he's not playing it safe. He's trying. He's made his intention clear that he wants to. And look at that, f5. Just rolling the pawns down the center. Always be scared of stuff like e4. Blowing the position open. Also, in certain moves, f4 could be considered, where he really kills the dark squared bishop on d2.
Yeah, this is very awesome to watch the youngster play like this. It's all about just initiative and just caring not whatsoever about material balance. And this always impresses me when they play the position, not the material evaluation. That is always a joy to see. So I'm very curious how this is going to unfold.
We'll come back to this. Do you want to jump onto the World Champions game? Do you want to take a look at what
I actually did? Up to? I did, but then they traded queens off just to rain on my party.
And you lost all interest.
Yeah, that's right. Like without queens, it's not the same game. I thought that Ding was doing clearly better here, and perhaps still is. And I think that the queen trade was actually a necessary measure taken by Magnus to sort of take the sting out of White's most important strategic plans. I still prefer White here, by the way, by quite a bit. But beating Magnus in an endgame like this is not an easy task by any stretch of the imagination.
But I have to say that you're absolutely right. It looks a lot more pleasant for white. You've got more space. You've got two bishops. You can always create play down the H file. I really like how Magnus traded off the queens. The plan with queen f6, queen c3. He always manages to find these interesting queen maneuvers, but I think the problems are far from over. And this is going to be a bit of a grind. And this time, the side that's going to be grinding down is going to be Ding and not Magnus. And look at this. Very interesting AlphaZero-esque stuff. Usually when the pawn is on h5, Andras, conventionally, we always think the idea is to go h takes g6 and then open up the h file. But computers and new engines, and especially AlphaZero, has shown us that actually h4, h5, h6 is often a lot more dangerous than taking on g6. And now in top level chess, very often we see this pawn on h6 and not trading g6.
Yeah, it's all thanks to Ginger GM, right? The inventor of the H pawn, Harry. Harry is now
did it
claiming...
before AlphaZero did.
Yeah, that's way before. I think AlphaZero secretly actually purchased a couple of Ginger GM Chessable courses to polish off the knowledge and perfect it. But no matter what happens here, I would take white any day of the week. Any day of the week. But that being said, black's position is extremely sturdy and difficult to break, especially the knight on c5 is a very well placed piece on an outpost. So I'm not quite sure what Ding Liren's long-term plan is. I mean, the only way to break I can see is a very long-term f4 e5, but boy, carrying that one out is a tough challenge.
A super tough challenge, because look at the way Magnus has placed his pieces, right? It's exactly against this plan that you're mentioning. He's made sure that the pawn on e4 is constantly under fire, so the bishop from f3 can never move, and you don't get f4 in. And that's what he's counting on to keep things under control. Should we take a look at some of the other actions that we have going on, Andras? And wow, look at what's going on the Vidit board.
Yep, good call. We haven't seen our good friend Vidit for a while. Yeah, I suppose this turned out to be a fairly normal-looking French structure where black managed to evacuate his bishop to, b5, where it's aiming to be traded off for white's good bishop, after which I actually don't mind black's position too much. So if Vidit wants to accomplish anything here, he needs to strike the proverbial iron rather sooner than later.
In fact, let's just back up and take it from where we left it when we saw h4, g4, and there was e6 on the board. And we were talking about that black needs to get c5 in. He did it on the very next move. And that's how the bishop, let's just do a play-by-play to understand how we got into this crazy mad position that we've got currently on. And queen c5, and despite the c file being open, Vidit took the call to go long castling because he's already committed h4 and g4. And it's interesting how black feels that the king is safest in the center now.
Very good call there indeed. And as you can see, black is carrying out the other strategic components of his plan, the trade of the bishop and then the development of the knight before committing to the king. And in fact, I do expect this king. Actually, now it may castle, but there's nothing wrong with perhaps delaying it even further by playing something like a5 or even trading on d3 first. One thing to note about trading on d3, though, is that white sometimes gets to retake with the pawn and then conquer the c file for himself. So that is not a plan to be underestimated, although the engine just casually giggles when I show it to him. But, you know, the engine and I are not necessarily on best of terms. So that's all good. But yeah, that's just another plan.
Well, the engine and you might not be in best terms, but Vidit agrees with you 100%. I think his last move, rook c1, just goes on to show that it is in fact preemptive towards bishop d3, so that you can take with the c pawn and immediately hit the queen down on the c file. So rook c1 played. And this is one characteristic that I've noticed about Vidit's play. He's extremely prophylactic. He sees something and it's all about stopping your opponent's ideas for him and planning sort of for what your opponent might want to do and play against that. And this is just his style of play. And rook c1 is all about that. Queen b6 on the board. We see a very happy Aryan on our screen right now. That's, of course, a photograph of him. But Andras, I think he's got reasons to be pleased with the way the opening's gone so far. He can expect some interesting stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think that with Black, a position like this is definitely counts as a success. He shouldn't feel threatened or intimidated. The clock situation is more or less even Steven. So yeah, we are definitely looking to see an exciting battle here. Like, this is not going to be a draw anytime soon because of White's commitment to castling queenside. It definitely guarantees Black some kind of play, and conversely, White can also do similar things. I noticed, Tania, that exchange sack might be the theme of the day in the Sam Shankland Niels Grandelius game. I will go back a little bit. We saw this very awesome F-pawn sack a couple of moves earlier, and then B5, throwing in the kitchen and the sink. Boy, oh boy, opening up the B5 for the attack, or not. And now Black is just going for broke, and both parties are just going absolute bananas for the attack. And actually, I'm a bit confused why he didn't go H5 here. But they didn't. 94, 95, of course, is very attractive too. And now he sacrificed the exchange, not so much out of a creative flair, but simply because they had to. There was no other way to defend the mate on H7. But now the White attack has come to a little bit of a halt, and Bishop F5, Rook up, Rook here may become, whoa. As I played out this move, the engine's eval bar just went downstairs in my house, and I don't even have downstairs. So it just created a downstairs section. Yeah, Bishop Rook up, and now, Bishop F5, Rook C6 is fire.
No, this is an attack with brutal force, no? And I want to point out that moment where you said H5 for White, which looked so dangerous, Andras, but I think it all came down to perhaps Black having a defense with the move like Bishop F5, because that's the move, that's what caught my attention as well. And it just feels that once this bishop comes to F5, at any point, Black is absolutely safe. Meanwhile, who's coming to the rescue of White's king on C1? Rook A6, a beautiful rook lift, heading to C6 to give a check, and White sidesteps on B1 already. But all Black needs to do is get that knight to B4, and that explains the move Queen D2. That is what Sam wanted. He wanted to prevent Black from getting that knight into B4, and as you're mentioning this potential line, Bishop F5, Rook C2 coming in, and if you go Rook C1, then you trade, and that knight eventually lands on B4. Maybe you go knight B4 immediately. Why even trade
actually, beauty.
Look at that. You want to jump in.
Stunner, absolute
Rook takes
screamer.
C6 and Queen takes A2 is checkmate. That's how you set up an attack. Absolutely brutal play by Niels in this one.
Yeah, I expect here something like knight H3 or knight E2 perhaps. I don't know, but Rook C2 is
Rook
coming
C2
in.
Looks killing.
This was a massive turnaround, Tania. What I'm very curious about is that instead of Queen D2, what should have White played here? Because according to the engine, White is actually very much ahead here. I wonder if it's G4 to entirely negate the Bishop F5 possibility. And the answer to that is a firm no from the engine.
Because knight B4 still looks very scary. And there's Queen C4 coming in, and knight A2 is attack. I think you have to go H5.
Yeah,
good
H5
or bad,
is the
you
move.
kind of got to go H5, but I'm not, I think it's also Rook C6 on the board, by the way. I see our live board. Your plan is played.
Yeah, it's on the board. So we are waiting for...
Wow, this is amazing stuff. I think we can say that Sam is in massive trouble in this one, Andras. And we saw these ideas.
Yeah.
Rook C6 not only threatens Rook C2, but if you go Rook C1, Knight B4 would be a deadly blow. We'll come back and see, but this one looking bad for Sam Shankland. Let's take a look at Anish Giri versus Wei Yi. Now, Wei Yi has shown tremendous opening preparation in the Chessable Masters so far. And in this one as well, we see him up ahead on the clock, even now by about 5 minutes, and he's got things under control. Let's take it from where we left it.
Yeah, so there was a pawn stack here on D5, which is actually not unusual in these structures at all, especially if White manages to eliminate Black's light squared bishop, because now this diagonal this diagonal and these two squares are firmly in white's control, and that is very often worth the pawn. And now look at it, immediately jumps onto that diagonal with the bishop, creating some attacking plans. Queen e4, mating one threat, forcing g6, and now he's going after it with h4. By the way, yet another game where the kings are castled opposite side. My favorite type of chess, because that's when the spilling of blood is definitely guaranteed. Yeah, very exciting chess. And then Anish playing d5, trying to revive the bishop on e7, extending the diagonal and hoping to have an influence with b4. I guess that queen takes d5 is forced, and then either queen takes or bishop takes. They are both fine. I think Anish is probably thinking here about equalizing, so I would be surprised if he did not take it with the queen.
Dreaming of a queen trade here. Well, it's going to be interesting. d5, definitely a nice resource by Anish that shows just how strong his understanding of these positions are. You know, you don't capture on c5, you put in this move into mezzo d5, and it's put Wei Yi into a bit of a thing. By the way, big update on the Magnus board. I think you're going to love what Ding Liren has done in this endgame, and I have to say that Magnus's position looks like it's going downhill.
Wait, what's happening here? Why did he play f5? Did he have to?
I think he just hated his position and he wants to do something to try and create some space. But very often in these kind of positions, you just have to stay.
But what does white do if they just keep on passing? I didn't quite see the plan. So if I just keep on passing, do we eventually get f4 in? Because we will have enough defenders like rook e1, bishop somewhere, and then f4. Yeah, I guess. And f5,
he decided he doesn't want to wait anymore and goes f5. But this looks like it's going to weaken black's position a lot.
Yeah, it's very double-edged. Of course, f5 can't be captured, at least for the time being, because e3 is hanging, which is the main point. But boy, this is now going to go absolute wild. And now, oh, okay.
He's repeating. Is he repeating, or is he going to try for more? Because I look at our eval bar, and it says that white has a massive advantage, but Ding Liren repeating moves here. He's down to 2.5 minutes, while Magnus has 14.5 minutes.
Yeah, that's insane. I reckon take on f5 is the way to go. And
you're not scared of rook e2 check?
No, I'm just going to drop back and I'll go like...
Fair enough. Rook h2, what's going on?
Come at me. I don't know. I just pretend to be confident, Tanya. That's what's going on. I don't know. Can I just keep on munching on those pawns?
Rook e2, the other one?
Yeah, I will take this as well.
You've taken 3 pawns. I don't have too much of an option. Let's go king somewhere. Let's go f8 or f7, not sure. But okay, it doesn't matter. Maybe f8. Rook f4.
Okay, so I don't know if I want to go check.
You're
and
gonna
then
checkmate, right? Rook f4, king e8, bishop g6. But not. Oh my god, we're gonna see a draw. We're gonna see a draw here.
No, that's
not
illegal.
Here, but I mean on the live board.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
This one, I'm not sure if I can hold on. Although king d7, where are you mating me? Not that clear. Rook f7, there's king c8, and bishop f5, there's king e8.
Yeah, but right now you don't even have a threat. I mean, you can perpetuate your checkmate at the best of times.
I'm just going for a draw.
So what do you do if I just go across here?
Check, 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 check.
That's mean. I'm missing. we are missing something here because the engine is yelling at us that this is dead.
But I'm just really surprised, and that's it. That's it. This game finishes in a draw with a 3-fold repetition, and we see Ding Liren, and I'm 100% sure he is checking this last position. I think it all came down to the clock situation. Ding down to 2 minutes, just not enough time, and he probably did not believe in his position as much to go on with that amount of time on the clock. We'll come back to this, Andras, and see if there was more for Ding, but there's so much action on the other boards. Let's quickly get an update on the Prague Mishra board.
Okay, no worries. Let's go to Prague first. There has been updates on the Sam Shankland game, but I agree with you. If I can find Prague, that would be very good. Where is Prague? Here is Prague. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm very slow today. It's still building up to that tension. It is still building up to that tension where Prague wants to break with e4 and Mishra is just holding with all his might. I wouldn't be surprised, Tanya, by the way, in positions like this to see all the pawns running up. G5, queen across, H5, G4, and just unfold the whole pawn chain, because then we eliminate this guy, which has got two very important purposes. One is to block the diagonal, and two, to hold the E4 break. And so if black manages to play here something along the lines of G5, queen across, H5, G4, take and take, then we probably remove the most important defender. Of course, it's a long-term plan, which may or may not work, but as a concept, it is certainly there.
Definitely. And queen e1 played, so putting up pressure on e5, but so far it's really defended well. I think the idea is also a5. Watch out, that's the weakness in black's camp as well. So bishop a5 is a big threat on the board. And actually, I don't see a very pleasant way to defend that pawn. I mean, you've got to defend it with the queen. I don't think you can give up the a5 pawn.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be surprised knowing Prague, by the way, if he just goes like, yeah, no worries, just take it and I will just drop back. And then obviously b4 should follow, right? So that's the problem, that then we open up a file for the white heavy pieces where they can do a fair bit of damage. Wow. Interesting. If queen b6 has to be played, which was played, then we might reach a very funky dynamic equilibrium where neither side can make progress.
Very, very nice defense by Abhimanyu there, spotting this queen retreat with e1, forcing black to get his queen onto the defense. We'll come back to this because we've got wild action on the Wehi Anish board.
Yes.
Andras, let's jump over to that one. I know you like these positions.
I was waiting for you to call it. I'm like, yes, that's what I want to. So Anish offered the queen trade. I would like to say uncharacteristically, but that would slightly bend the reality. Queen b3 was played, a5, and now Anish goes like, well, my brother, if you don't want to trade queens, I'm gonna go after your king. And frankly, I don't understand why the engine slightly preferred this for white, because to be my very
h5, h takes g6, queen h7, checkmate. Who is in time? Who is checkmating who after b4? Okay, exactly. let's go for it. 1 second. h5, b takes a3, h takes g6, rook takes b2, king a1. You don't have a check. You've got rook a2, but after king a2, queen c4. Oh, my queen on h3 is so beautiful because you don't have queen c3. Can we please show that line? Rook a2, king a2, queen c4, king a1, and queen c3 check, which would win the game for black, is not possible because of the queen on h3. It's on the board. B takes a3 played, by the way. H takes g6 is what we're expecting.
So hang on a second. What are we missing here, Tanya? What's happening after king a1?
It's on. It's on.
We must be missing something.
Oh yeah, because there has to, because our eval bar says that black's fine, right? So you want to know where is black fine here?
Yeah.
We just called this line. We just called this entire line, Andras. King a1 played, and what's the move here? So you're threatening checkmate with queen at 7.
Oh, h5. Holy macaroni.
Oh my
move.
Goodness. Oh my, that is a beaut.
Oh my goodness.
And let's just find this out. We've got to break this down, Andras, because that queen on h3 was defending the c3 square. And with this move h5, black deflects the queen. What a find by Anish. And this is probably lost for white now because king takes a2.
Yeah.
Queen c4, check. Queen c3, queen b2, checkmate.
Wait, I come back here. And then I will attempt to walk.
This is...
Check here.
Bishop b4, king e2. Queen d4, maybe
you also have queen d4, but then that's the, and then take, but then I come back here. Oh wow, check this out. Here back.
Queen e3? Queen e3, rook d2.
Yeah. By the way, the eval bar hasn't been moving despite me making moves on the board. That tells me that it may not be.
Yeah, maybe it's stuck and we have no idea. Chat, we have no idea. Our eval bar is stuck. Can you please tell us what on earth is going on after h5?
Actually, I can figure that out in another way, but I would have liked to figure it out for myself just because of my...
No, but let's have a think here. Let's have a think here and see, Andras, h5 on the board and Wehi thinking about queen takes h5, let's take a look at this line one more time. Queen takes h5. Rook a2 has to be played. We grab up the rook. Queen c4 is the only check.
Yeah. Oh, I think, Tanya, it's going to be check here.
But, yes. But then...
Right, check here.
Yeah, and that's actually looking really scary because where do you go?
And we also missed rook b8.
No, rook b8 after king c1. There's king c1.
Yeah. Okay, but that could be a relevant idea anyway. So after the check, I have to go here on the move.
But then
right?
queen c3, queen a3, rook b8, checkmate.
Exactly. So
this
now
is
the question
busted after
is,
a2, Andras. A2 is quite the find.
Yeah, but the thing is that I think the other eval bar that I see on the right is correct, and it's on dead even. So perhaps queen takes h5 is an unnecessary move. So after Anish's h5, it is quite possible that yeah.
All right, way down to 58 seconds. He was up by almost 10 minutes on the clock at some point.
Yeah.
He's down to 50 seconds now. This is getting absolutely out of control.
Yeah, just what we wanted.
But then, okay, we've had some moves. We've had some moves.
Yep. So he went en passant, and then Anish took back on g6.
And very important because queen on h3 is a key defender. So that's why he wants to keep the queen there because, Andras, this line that you pointed out with a2 is probably just busted for white. So queen h5 would have been a big blunder.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do think, by the way, that black has definitely all the trump cards in the hand now. So I'm very curious. Queen g3 was played, but boy, oh boy, this is an absolute mess. No less. King h8. And I'm telling you, Tanya, right now, I just looked around a little bit. Black is completely killing it. The plan is simply queen c4, and the mate on a2 is just terminal. And that's, by the way, part of the reason why king h8 was necessary, because this bishop check would have soiled the party.
And I see our bar has gone down to the deep depths of hell right now. So white is busted. And this is completely over for Wehi. And I am being told by our producer, Sachdev, that in fact, the bar was absolutely on point and the line that we were seeing with queen h5 is the way to go. We'll check out where white went wrong. But look at this. Anish wins. Wehi resigns. It's all over here after king h8. Not a single check here on the board.
Wow, this is that is a life lesson to learn, by the way, that if Anish offers you a queen trade, you take it. All right, let's quickly then move on because there are lots of crazy games happening. Mishra might be gaining the upper hand against Prague because the queen side got blasted open with this b4 move that we already mentioned, and all of a sudden it's the rooks who are the big boys now, not the bishops. I don't like this for black now anymore.
And one way to look at it is, right, a few moves ago, all the files were blocked. There was no activity for the rook, so they didn't really count for anything. And now take a look at the queen side. One of white's rook is on the A file. The other one will join the action from B1 at some point. So finally, the rooks have play. And when that happens, the material is going to count. Queen A1, another really nice move. I think very impressive play by Mishra overall. Abhimanyu going queen E1, queen A1. Nice maneuvering there with the queen. And once you trade off the rooks on the A file, rook B1 will come in. And it looks like the material is going to count for something in this one.
Yeah, this is very nice play. Very nice play indeed. And also, it's worthy to point out to some of our viewers, although I'm pretty sure that most of them already know it very well, that wins are worth an awful lot in our current tournament format because wins are scoring 3 points and the draws are only worth 1 point. So the gap has been opened up, encouraging players to play for a win, to try their best to actually play exciting attacking chess, because it is indeed rewarded handsomely. Now, crazy time trouble, lots of cheeky tactical tricks. I will stay with this board, Tanya, if you don't mind. I'm very curious how this is going to end.
We're gonna be on this one. Queen f2, and what is going on here? So bishop c5, you still have d4, so it can't.
But then queen e4.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it's mate.
And bishop d4, two big threats. Queen h1 checkmate, and bishop takes d4, winning the queen. We're going to see this happen. What a big turnaround. Pragg looks like he's bagging this one. Queen e4 is going to come up at this very moment, and that is it. Man. This is game over for Abhimanyu.
Lucky I just called the bishops now no longer relevant, right? The commentator curse is real.
Queen g2, and now you just go bishop d4 check before bishop you snap up the queen.
Actually, you don't. I think you will go back to e6.
After bishop d4, king h1, queen e6. Yep. I love it. Also, yes, I think queen e6
actually, rook a5. I was about to say that the most stylish of all is rook a5, and now the rook can't take because then it's mate. And if white takes the queen, then simply bishop takes back is almost a checkmate. I have to block with the rook.
Game over.
And after rook a2, it's just completely mopping up.
Well, he goes rook e2, but now you can go queen takes e2, and after queen c6, there's queen e1, but queen f1, but he takes on g2 instead. And this is also all over. And with that, Abhimanyu resigns. What a big turnaround. Praggnanandhaa scoring a critical win, which makes him feel so much safer on his path for his first ever quarterfinals in the Champions Chess Tour.
Yep. Let's have a look at some of the boards we haven't seen. Erik Hansen is actually having the upper hand. In fact, I would say he's completely winning here. What am I misreading here? I'm not going to give in to the barb, Tanya. This has to be completely game over. Oh, it's already over. Sorry, it is over.
Already. This is completely busted, and our bar does inform us that actually, of course, that last position, it's all over. And this we've got still going on. The Jordan Hari Krishna action is on, and it looks like Hari, who's known for his fantastic endgame play, has managed to keep it together, and our bar says black is fine, but practically still not over. I think Jordan is still looking to try to grind this out. The main thing is that the black rook on e8 is cutting off white's king on f3. So extremely difficult for white to get his king onto the queen side. So he's trying this other path now, Andras, going king h3, king h4, the one that you're pointing out.
Note that both players are very short on time.
And I think the defensive strategy here would be that once you get your king to h4, black will play rook e3 and target the g3 pawn so that you're never able to play king to g5.
Indeed. That's exactly what I expect. I am going to consider this to be a draw. And then there is a very fascinating endgame going on between Shak and Gawain, where Gawain is a piece down, but the white pawns are rather badly exposed to the mercy of the bishop on b1.
You can just go bishop c6 and bishop a4, no? I mean, yes, you can take the a2 pawn, but once I defend the b3 pawn and I've just got an extra knight, that's got to be winning. Okay, he goes bishop d1, which also makes so much sense. Why does the eval bar hate it? Maybe because a4, this allows a4.
Or I take first and then a4.
Yes, bishop a2, and this allows a4, which was why I think bishop belonged to a4 and not on d1.
Yeah, that is very, very interesting.
I mean, just intuitively, you want to put that bishop on a4, but bishop d1 defends it in one move, the b3 pawn. But I think the idea that black has is, for example, bishop takes a2 here. Let's just show that, Andras. He goes king d4, and maybe that's the right way, actually.
I think, Tanya, the problem with your idea, if I may say so, is that after takes bishop here, I come here. And I'm threatening to come in here. And if you play knight here, I have this marvelous move of b5.
Ooh, that is nice.
I'm very proud of myself for finding that at 3 o'clock in the morning. So the idea is that if pawn takes, we take the knight. And if the bishop takes, we take this pawn. And now all the white pawns are falling off the board.
So maybe there was really nothing. Whether bishop c6 or bishop d1, black has this counterplay anyways, regardless. And king d4 on the board. So he doesn't even snap up the a2 pawn.
Yeah, I do think that the evaluation bar is actually correct and white doesn't have enough. A very paradoxical case, mind you, because technically white is a full piece up.
Do you reckon that after knight d5, black still wants to go b5?
I think they have to.
Yeah.
I think they have to.
I really like that idea that you spotted, Andras. Knight d5, taking advantage of the fact that the c4 pawn defends the d5 knight. Of course, black is aiming to simplify and trade off as many pawns as possible. Knight e6, and the king just continues to march down the board to b2.
Yeah, so now he wants to use this trick. So I don't actually know how to respond to that. Maybe just king back to d4. Could be a quite amazing.
But then knight a8.
Knight a8. Oh, yeah, you're right, actually.
He takes on a2, which makes a lot of sense. You pick it up, and after knight d5, you go king d2, hitting that pawn.
Or d2 and hitting the bishop.
Hitting the bishop. Because king b2, there's knight takes b6, and the c pawn will start marching down the board.
Yep, so king d2, knight takes, king takes c5, bishop takes c6, and the bishop goes back on time to cover the pawn. Yeah.
And I have a bad feeling about king b2. King d2 on the board. I think king b2 was just too risky with the c pawn becoming very strong. And now you just take on d1, and you're just in time to stop white's c pawn.
Tania, I have got a terrible news for you. Harry lost.
Oh, wow.
To a beautiful motif, by the way. Look at this. He actually jammed his king and rook side by side, blundering into this marvelous tactic, rook f4, forcing the rooks off into a winning king and pawn ending. After rook takes, pawn takes check, this is immune because then this pawn runs in. And after takes, we have got a theoretically winning king and pawn ending. I would call that a massive upset, considering the position that we had earlier on. This should have been a draw, in my opinion. That was a very, very unfortunate turn of events there.
I mean, I think till the very last moment, it looks like he's got everything under control. And then this rook f4 idea, but we still have action on the other board. We'll come back and see what went wrong. Let's jump back to the Gwen board. And this is what we called out, bishop e6, defending that c pawn from advancing. And white wants to go king e7, knight d7 after c7. Is he going to be in time? Let's take a look. Bishop h3. You go c7 first.
Nope.
And you're just not in time because black queens as well.
Yeah, in fact, white is in trouble there. So I think it's time to cut the losses and make a draw here with white. He did play king e7.
No, he went for knight c4. We've got knight c4 on the board.
Yeah. Sorry. Wrong board. I went for a different knight c4. Yep. Knight c4.
And the point is that now after b3, he's stopping b2. So the b2 pawn doesn't advance. You can't take knight takes a5 because of b2. So what is white's idea here? Because just getting the king, yeah?
Yeah, because a4 is not playable due to the check.
That's a nice technique there by white.
King Hido.
But now you take on a5, and after b2, you've got knight c4, knight a3.
Oh, that is beautiful. Well done,
Let's just show that
Tania.
on the board. Let's just show knight takes a5.
That is the work of a genius, and then check.
Thank you. So king e5 on the board. All right, so if a4 is not possible, king c2 isn't possible. Or maybe king c2 just draws, C1? And it's king c1. King c1 on the board.
Yeah, so it's gonna be. I reckon it's gonna be king d4 on the board. So it's gonna be b2, knight takes, king takes, king c4.
But then there's a4. I mean, that's lost, right?
Yep, that is lost.
So after b2, what does white want? Oh, maybe you want to go knight a3. The point is, this is stunning. Let's just show this. b2, you go knight a3, and after b1, that's when you take the. That's when you go knight takes b3, knight takes b1, king b1, and king c4, and now you're in time to stop the a pawn. Amazing precision, and going down to 7 seconds on the clock.
And he plays in this position a4 instead of promoting to queen.
Get the king.
Now we need to come here. King c3. Yep,
king
played.
c3 on the board, and b1 still runs into takes and king b4. So everything under control, and king b4 regardless. But bishop c6, you've got to go c7.
Yeah, and now it's all over. It's a draw.
King b4 and bishop d7. You'll go c8. You'll give that pawn, and after king takes a4, do you hold this?
Yeah, but you don't have to even do that, Tania. You can just come back here, and then when they promote, Yes, you take the king takes king b4, king b2, promote to queen, and then you pick off the pawn.
Very nice.
So, yes.
Very nice endgame play there.
But to be honest, it almost looked like in the end, Shach had to fight for the draw when 10 moves ago he was a piece up. You know what I mean? Like, in the end, it was him who had to actually prove that he had a draw. Quite amazingly.
You're absolutely right. Just some amazing resource there by Gwen, finding this idea with b5 and getting the king in, and that's it. Both players know this is nothing to be done here, but very precise play by both these players in the end. And this is how our first game of the day went. Well, round 13 in the event, Magnus, Carlsen, Dingler, and I think there was more chess to have happened there, but both players decided to draw. They're pretty safe in their qualification, so one can't blame them. It's been a strong fight so far by the two. Eric Hansen beat David Anton. That's a big result for Eric. Shach Gwyn, a marathon game which ended with some precise endgame play, and that was a draw. Jordan beat Hari, a definite heartbreak for the Indian fans, because now that means that Hari slips out of the top 8. While Abhimanyu, what a topsy-turvy game that was, Andras.
Yeah, very much so. In fact, we had a few very interesting battles. I would even say that Anish Giri's victory was a bit topsy-turvy too. It looked very drawish for a fair while, and then it turned into a beautiful victory by Anish. Holy moly. So now it is looking like the tail end of the business. People are, and the players are actually getting a bit more feisty and playing for those victories, which we had plenty of in this round. And I'm very excited to see that trend to continue in the last 2 rounds of the preliminaries.
And look at our standings. Pragnananda has jumped to the 4th spot with that big win against Abhimanyu, while Aryan Tari has leapfrogged Hari Krishna and taken his spot. He's at the 8th position right now after, I think, his 4th win in a row. Absolutely amazing chess there by Aryan. And with it lost as well the last round, which obviously puts his hopes to the qualification. Well, not looking good right now. And we've got a couple of minutes before we start our next round 14. Do you want to quickly take a look at that Anish game? Because that was such a big turnaround, Andras. And Sotris informs us, as does chat, so I want to bring that up, that where you were looking at the line of queen takes h5, while you bring that on, let's just back up. And here, yes, instead of taking this pawn, queen h5 doesn't work because you pointed out. Let's just show your line one more time.
Yeah, so check, 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 back, and a2 check was the idea. And
this would be
here,
game over.
Then, yep.
King's queen c3, king a2, queen a3, and then rook b8.
Rook b8 mate. And what is chat telling you about the correct move, Tanya?
Apparently, the way to go for white here is g takes f7 check. You've got to put that in to deflect that rook from f8 to f7.
And what happens if I go here?
Don't ask me.
Okay, because that seems to be the logical move to play, right? Because we are hiding the king on a dark square. But now I'm going to have a look at it myself. So king g7 appears to be even losing to queen. Oh, no, dead draw, queen g3.
Oh, and the point is that you don't have any ideas with rook a2 because the c3 square is covered and white is threatening rook h5 next.
Yeah, so I play queen b5 with this very cheeky mating idea here.
Bishop d5 maybe here?
Queen b5 doesn't help.
Bishop
I still
d5,
go check.
rook c2. No, oh, yes, of course.
Yeah, I'm happy to be rid of my rook. Now you need to swing across to c3. And I think this is going to be a ridiculous case where now bishop b4 comes, but that actually cuts off black's own threat. So now I can just swing back.
Oh my God. I mean,
or even to g3.
These moves in seconds.
Ah, no way. And now white does have genuine threats such as rook d5 or, yeah, maybe even rook h5 and then coming here with a mate. So I probably need to go back to renew the threat. And then
that's the draw. That's
seesaw effect.
Wow.
Yeah. What a game.
One just can't blame the players for not finding this, but well done, chat, on this one. Let's quickly bring up our pairings for game 14 coming up, because this is a big one. Wow, we've got a hot one at the top. Look at this. Magnus Carlsen taking on Anish Giri, the tournament leader. And of course, this one always promises to bring on the excitement. Then we've got Aryan Tharia against Veyi, a very important game for Aryan, who's currently in 8th spot. Niels will play against Vidit. Prague against Sam, big one for Prague as well. And we've got a couple of minutes before liftoff. Andras, we're going to go into a short break and be back with round 14 action.
Sounds
It's time to take control of your journey towards chess mastery. Magnus Carlsen introduces Chessable, the defeat your weaknesses. There's no need to set up a board, remember which page you're on, or keep track of all the moves you miss. Get started now and join our growing community of over 100,000 chess enthusiasts.
Chess. And are you sick of sucking at chess? Well, lucky for you, I have also invented Chess as a digital chess trainer that helps you improve by creating unique lessons based on have blundered your queen just there. They are other than Hikaru, so you know it's good. Hi, it's me, that guy I just mentioned, and I am the best chess man in the world. But thanks to Aim Chess, I also have a girlfriend now as well. This could be you! Personalized training, game reports and analysis disease, study plans, thick, luscious hair, intuition builder. All this and more available on Aim Chess.
Hello?
Courtney, did you know that Aim Chess users improve their ratings 43% faster than average?
What?
So what are you waiting for? Join Aim Chess today. Links will be somewhere, probably. I don't know, I just made the video. Aim Chess. Sign up now and get 50k silver and 2 free months off your VPN. Now that's what I call a Queen's Gambit. That's so fucking dumb. Aim Chess, for when you aim to chess. That's their slogan. It's what they say. Ready, aim, chess. That's another. It's... Look, just sign up for Aim Chess, okay? Just... Come on. Literally, why not? Alright, just stop being a dick for like 5 seconds and just go. Alright? Jesus Christ.
Okay, so let's send a challenge.
Here is challenging. Nice graphics, easy to see. Oh, what are you thinking about? You're looking how it can be the most painful?
Exactly. Okay, fine.
So that I give up a phone. He wants to be even rude.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. What a dramatic round we had, Andras. So many twists and turns, and results that we were expecting to go one way just ended up going another way. Some fascinating opening preparation, great tactics on the board. What impressed you the most about this last round?
I think you sort of took the words out of my mouth, because the amazing tactics is indeed what I think stands out the most from the last round that we watched. And I think that this is going to be the main theme for the rest of the day. I mean, the shorter time control really sets up, I think, these possibilities, because obviously people make more mistakes when they are more under the pressure. And of course, those mistakes usually are of tactical nature. And I'm very, very keen to see what the two big guns, Magnus Carlsen and Anish Giri, will bring to the table. We are going to kick off in a minute. So this round was delayed by 2 minutes, I understand, because of the very last game went a bit too long. And so the players get a bit longer break than expected, but I just can't wait to get into it. Speaking of getting into it, Tania, I understand that you are preparing for the Chess Olympiad. Would you mind sharing a couple of thoughts about your preparation, the team, the expectations? Obviously, the Olympiad will be held in India, so you are on home turf. Do you feel the pressure or do you feel the joy? or
I'm
both?
super excited about it, Andras. We're all really looking forward to it. I think Olympiads always so much extra motivation to play for the country. It's an absolute privilege, and it's happening in India. So we're all really excited about it. We just had a training camp in Chennai, and in fact, I just got back from there 2 days ago, and it was a fantastic experience. We had Boris there with us. The the opens team was there, as well as the women's team, and it was a lot of fun. So we're all really looking forward to it. And I think the fact that they're going to be over 1,700 chess players from across the world in India, it's going to be fantastic. So anyone who's watching, if you're in India at that time, definitely come and watch the Chess Olympiad. It's a stage like nothing else.
Yes, I can second that. I have been to a chess Olympiad once in my life, and it was easily the best chess experience I've ever had, as far as chess tournaments are concerned, for sure. But now, we will definitely come back to this, Tania, later. But now let's focus on the proceedings on the chessboards. We have got a strange Grunfeld in Magnus Carlsen against Anish Giri. As far as openings are concerned, it's quite important to point out that Sam Shankland is playing a Semislav that he wrote a course about, which is an outstanding Chessable course, and he knows the theory of this thing inside out. So Prague challenging him in his own area of expertise is a very interesting thing. And another opening that stands out to me is Nils Grandelius, who went for this very aggressive Rook G1, G4 plan in the Philidor. It's a known plan, but nonetheless, it's a little bit of a quirky way to play, but it really resonates well with what I told you, that last 2 rounds, they are going for broke.
I love it. Rook G1 and G4 on the board. And absolutely, you've got to throw everything you've got in the kitchen sink here. We've got Rook G1 coming in with all the attack on the king side, and that makes White's intentions very, very clear. So this one's going to be a fun one. Let's continue our opening tour and see what is some of the other action that we have ongoing. And by the way, really interesting that Vidit goes into a bit of a think now. So after G4, he's of course thinking about how to handle the immediate threat of the pawn avalanche. Should he go H6, but then that gives a big hook on the king side, and you're actually not really fighting the threat because there's always H4, G5 coming in as well. Vidit, who's usually very well prepared in the opening, goes into a think tank.
Yeah, also interesting to take on D4, and then after potential knight takes, one of the knight moves will create a spot for the other knight. But yeah, one would be reluctant to give up the center unless some clear compensation is seen in return. Hare Krishna is already trading down to a very equalish looking scenario against Abhimanyu Mishra. Another knight off, and A4 was played. I suppose he wanted to take the young American GM out of book as soon as possible, but this line doesn't have a reputation that is better than equal. Then again, there is nothing wrong with playing equal positions, but I don't mind black here at all. I think Mishra is fairly safe.
I'm actually quite surprised with Hari's approach there, because considering that he lost the last round, he's really got to go all out if he wants to try to finish in the top 8. So definitely I'm expecting him to create something a bit more ambitious than what his opening choice seems to imply.
Yes, I totally agree with you. This is not exactly the way you would want to play when you actually need to win with White, especially. So, you know, I don't want to criticize his choice, but it's definitely not one that I would have followed. So David Anton plays a stock standard D3 Rui Lopez yet again against Shak Mamedyarov, and Ding Liren is in a English against the legendary Canadian streamer Chessbra Eric Hansen. I believe that we are following theoretical path here still, so there is not an awful lot to report, whereas the Gawain Jones Jordan Van Forest game looks a bit stale for my liking. A symmetrical structure in what started off as a Reti, I suppose, and turned into a reverse Pirz, and after the queen trade, I think that this is as equalish as it gets. So yeah, knight d4 was played. I anticipate c3, and further trades, yes, will be played. I do think that this game is genuinely headed towards a drawish outcome. To answer your question about Vidit's approach to g4, it was g6, which is a curious way to secure the h5 square for the knight. And now the white's kingside initiative has been stopped, or at least halted for the time being, but at the cost of a knight being parked on the rim.
Very interesting way to approach this position. I mean, it's clear that Vidit was out of his preparation and he needs to take a decision on the board how he wanted to react to this idea of rook g1, g4. And you can't use up all your time. You've got to make that decision fast. So he decides to go for g6, knight h5. I've got mixed feelings about this because you do put your knight on the rim. If it does land on f4 and you manage to open up that bishop on g7, it might be worth something. But it looks like white gets all the space. I mean, after bishop g7, a move like d5 comes to mind. You block that black's bishop on g7. You don't want to open it up. You gain more space. I want to go d5. I want to go queen d2. I want to go long castle. And meanwhile, yes, you can get your knight to f4, but how long is it going to stay there for? There are ideas like rook g4, snapping up that knight.
Or even trade with e2, knight e2 at some point. Yeah, I don't mind this position for white, so it's going to be an interesting one to see where that goes. Whereas, surprise, surprise, in the top board game, Magnus Carlsen against Anish Giri, the queens are already facing each other. So Anish follows his old good old recipe, put the queens on prey and punish them when they don't take it.
I'm being told that we did run a poll and we wanted to find out from chat what they thought would be the result of this match between Magnus and Anish. And wow, Magnus is a bit of a favorite. No surprises there really, but by a very small margin, 45% to Magnus here and 39% for a draw. So a lot of people feel that this one's going to end in a draw. Only 14% believe that, well, Anish can win this with the black pieces. Looking at the position, I'm going with the 39% draw.
Me too. Me too. most definitely, this is looking... but, you know, look, it's a queenless position, but that doesn't mean a default draw. There is definitely a lot to play for. But these players are so extremely skillful at neutralizing, you know, slight advantages. Yeah, it will be an interesting one for sure. I am more and more disliking Hare Krishna's position. Mishra beautifully doubled up on the f file. The knight is glued to f3 because of the f2 pawn is weak. And I'm still not seeing white's play here. And actually, he had to play rook e1 because there was a tactical threat here, Tanya. I think we can ask our chat. Can they spot the black threat here? What was black planning on doing in this position? Imagine I play a move like this. What would be the winning move for black here? What was the devilish trick by the youngest GM on planet Earth?
Puzzle time by Andras. Chat, tell us, after a move like rook d1, a natural looking move, doubling up on the d file. And before I can even finish, chat is just too quick. Well done. Rook takes f3 is the big threat in the position. The queen on e2, underpin, the sly queen on a6. Well, one wouldn't expect that, but yes, this would be game over after rook f3, queen takes e2 with a devilish threat. Well done, Solanki. Well done to everyone who found rook takes f3.
I think chat is telling me that I need to come up with better questions. Is that right?
This is just a warm-up. Chat, this was just a warm-up puzzle. We'll get the next one up soon.
Yeah. Sure. Okay.
We're just testing waters here, Andras. We're just seeing how it goes, and then we decide.
Totally. The queens came off in this game too, between Niels and Vidit. So he took on e5 and then penetrated on d6, but that was only a very temporary measure. After queen e7, the queens came off. And I actually don't mind this endgame for black, because here I actually do think that after trading on f4, black is not going to experience too many difficulties. And this pawn structure is a bit wonky with... Why do I do arrows? Sorry. These pawns are a little bit disjointed. So that could be a long-term issue for white. But obviously, currently, the piece activity is something that white has to go for him. So, yeah, we will see which of these two factors will play the bigger role.
All right, and let's just quickly take a look at the David Anton Shark board because we haven't had a chance to look at that. And I see Black's queen has landed on h5. Well, f5 always in the air, so watch out for that. What do you make of this? Should we take it from the top and see how we got here?
So regular Rui Lopez with d3. That's now the regular one. And knight c3 is a bit of an unusual. Well, I probably shouldn't say that, but c3 is the most standard way to treat it, and then knight d2. So knight c3 was played, h6 was played, knight d5, which is of course the idea behind knight c3, and now c3. I would be surprised if this wasn't actually theory. The queen enters the fray, and that queen indeed now becomes a bit of a nuisance from White's point of view, hence king h2 to decline the bishop h3 threat, and queen h5. Now, the reason why this is a move is because if I play a very natural looking queen here, then this is now tactics time number 2. So Tania, let's ask the chat if they can crack this one. I don't think that I'm testing really well here because it's just as easy.
Are we stepping it up? This doesn't look like a step up. But let's
no.
But let's go with it because let's see. Chat is, we've got some strong players. You know, Andras, you underestimate chat. I've noticed this thing about them. They're actually pretty strong. So I'm expecting an answer really quickly. What happens, chat, after queen d2?
I certainly don't underestimate the chat, by the way. It was just something that came across in my head.
It's too fast, too fast. Chat is too fast. Sloslav, Jiti, Solanki, everyone getting it right. Bishop takes h3, and I think that's what you had in mind, Andras.
Yes, of course. Actually, Soslav is a dude I know from my own stream. He sometimes comes and swings past in my stream, and I do know that dude. He's very good. So, yeah.
Well done on that, bishop h3. And I think the other idea of queen h5 that White needs to watch out is that bishop g4 is coming in as well. The h3 pawn is pinned. So now you can pin the knight on f3 and then try and destroy White's pawn structure. For example, a move like d4. After d4, you want to break into this, you want to break the center. And now bishop h3 doesn't work because the queen on d1 defends the knight, but bishop g4 still looks unpleasant for White. I really like queen h5.
Yeah, it's a great move. Actually, I think we should take first and then bishop g4, because then after d5, we will even have knight e5 at one point. So yeah, nice. Adding a bit of insult to injury. So what is the actual move for White here? I wonder, Tania, if the best we can do is to slide back. That would be quite ridiculous. Imagine that. King g1 offers draw. Queen g6.
Oh my God.
H2.
Are we going to see a repetition like that? That would have to be
Hopefully
fun.
not. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Now, very interesting. I would like to show this. In the last couple of days, I made a few rash decisions about certain positions and evaluations, and Danny was quick to correct me on these. And I called this one already, or suggested that this was going to go towards a draw. It might be equal. I don't know, but I don't like White at all in this position. I do not like White. As those pawns are, you know, progressing forward, more and more files and diagonals are opening up, and eventually the two bishops will be immensely powerful, and the g2 bishop is a very sad and the jobless bystander, mostly due to the fact that this pawn on e4 is actually shutting it down.
I 100% agree with you. And look at these pawns on e5 and f4. They completely dominate that knight on c2, taking away the d4 square, taking away the e3 square. And it just feels like White doesn't have enough space for his minor pieces. Bishop f1 defending that knight on c4. Also, as you mentioned, the bishop on g2 has pretty much got no future. So he does place it at a better square. But that knight from c4 can't even move because the pawn on a2 is under attack. Bishop h6. I love that move. Hitting that rook on c1, eyeing that pawn on g3. And it just looks very uncomfortable for Gwen, this one. We'll come back and see how this progresses. Do you want to take a quick look at the Prague board?
Yep. Prague. Yeah.
My first feeling, Andras, when I look at the current position, is that White seems to be doing really well. I love that bishop on b2, the pawn on d5. It just feels as if anyone's better here, it's got to be White.
Look, I don't want to counter you on this one. My measure of judging this position, Tania, is not to look at the board at all. I'm looking at the name of the player, Sam Shankland. I look at the clock, which is still in the
Ooh,
positive.
I didn't notice that. 15 minutes.
And knowing that this line is his bread and butter, I reckon he's still in his prep. Now, that may or may not mean that he's completely fine. I don't know. But of course, to more seriously answer your proposition, as far as the position is concerned, why can we not take on d5? I suppose
That's
the
a
idea.
tactic. That's puzzle time again. That's
Oh. So
that
of
is
course
puzzle
I
time
didn't
again.
I didn't want to take it twice, but let's make that a question.
Chat, this is a calculation exercise. We're not going to have it on our analysis board, Andras. Chat has to oh, actually he's gone for it. Chat, what happens after c takes d5? Let's just have some arrows. C takes d5. You pick up that pawn and bishop d5. What does white have in mind if black gets greedy here? Well, he decides to go for rook e1. We've got the live board with rook e8. The rooks have been traded off. E takes d5. Can black take bishop d5 now, chat? Let's take a
The
look.
question
Chat
is
just
still
too
valid.
fast. Chat is just super fast.
Yeah, although I have to say that this was also probably the same level of tactic as before. Hopefully we'll come across something a little bit more challenging.
Well done, Sloslav. Well done, Isuru. Absolutely. Rook takes d5 and then bishop c4 is the big idea, which would pin the queen. You pin and you win.
You know what I would like to tell you, Tania? I would like to tell you that I reckon Anish is better. I don't like these.
You sound surprised.
A little bit, because what I see on the board is a static double B pawn situation that is going to be difficult to get out of. Now, the question is, can Anish actually attack this pawn on B4 before E4 comes and the two bishops actually begin to overpower the black minor pieces? But at first sight, it appeared to me to be a very sturdy position from where black can safely shoot out at that B4 pawn.
All right, so bishop c7 on the board. Let's take it one step at a time. The rook, the fire, rook to c5. And now you have this idea of trying to attack the b4 pawn. So what does he have in mind for bishop d6? Does he want to go rook c4? Is that the whole point, that you step back, you're threatening bishop d5, and you defend the b4 pawn?
Yep. And if knight b6, then perhaps rook d4.
Bishop d6, rook c4 on the board.
Yeah, very well done, Tania. You spotted that perfectly well. Yeah, I think I got a bit too excited for my own good here.
And actually, there's no good way to fight against bishop d5 except knight b6, but then you lose control of the b4 pawn. But Andras, it looks like black's fine as well. I can't imagine white putting on any pressure with this weak pawn on b4. It's hard to imagine white playing for a win here.
Yeah, I do think that this is, again, that dynamic equilibrium where both sides have got their trump cards of different types, but they cancel each other out. Yep, knight b6 played as per discussed. And I don't know, rook d4?
Why not?
Yeah, that looks
rook d4, maybe bishop e5?
Yeah. Yep. We are guessing this game really well. Don't know if it's a good or bad sign.
I think what we can say is that it's pretty even right now. White has got the two bishop advantage, but then black has got, just pressure on white's pawns, the b2 pawn, the b4 pawns. Knight a4 might jump in at some time. So black's got his own trumps. Do you want to take a quick look at some of the other boards, Andras?
Sure. I just got excited about bishop b2 with knight c4 to follow, but I think that bishop Ida would probably cancel that tactic out. So yeah, let's go. That was just my move. Sorry. Let's go to have a look at Vidit. He is facing knight c4, which is a bit of a pain because the knight on d6 is going to make the life of this bishop a little bit more miserable than Vidit would like it to be.
It just feels as if slowly the pressure is just mounting on Vidit. I mean, once that knight does land on d6, I think Vidit's counting on knight d4. And
yeah, which is why I anticipate this.
I see 3 to start with, yeah?
Yeah, because this can't be stopped. Yeah, I definitely think that white is calling the shots here, Tania. So Vidit is in some kind of a trouble. I don't exactly know the extent of it, but I am not a happy camper for your countryman here. I think that he's definitely he has got his work carved out for him here.
All right, so with it looking like he's in trouble, well, at least a lot of pressure. Don't know how much it is, and he needs to be on the defense here. A bit of a passive position there for Vidit. Let's jump on to the Prague Sam board really quickly one more time, and because there have been some developments there.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you still maintain, Tanya, that you like white more here? And I'm not challenging you. I'm just curious.
No, it's an interesting question, because I do like the bishop on c6, but also what is it really doing there?
Yeah,
It's very pretty looking, but I'm not really sure if it helps white in any way. That pawn on d5, I would rather not have it so that he can go bishop d5. But he goes queen e4, so taking control of the e file completely. Also watch out for threats like rook e1, doubling up on the e file. You know what? The answer is yes. I kind of do like white still.
okay, all right. And I really respect that, because my verdict would be an I don't know, and that's probably the lamest thing I could possibly say. So I don't know. It feels to me that if Sam resolves the problem of the e file, the longer it goes on, the better it's gonna get for black, is what I would like to add to this. Because structurally, the d5 pawn, in my eyes, is much rather a weakness than a strength.
No, you're making me think about my decision. You're absolutely right. I mean, d5 can be a big weakness, but right now white does have a little bit of initiative. Also, black can come on with bishop f5, hitting that queen on e4. So things might not be as stable as they appear to be for Prague. And Andras, we'll come back and see how Sam manages to create something, or Prague manages to hold on. Let's get a quick update on the Ding Liren board. We haven't had a look at that.
No, we haven't had indeed.
But before that, can we please quickly go to David and Shakhriyar? I mean, that is fire on board.
I knew that's what you wanted, and so did I. Yes, so the trade took, actually, they played d4, allowing this idea that you introduced bishop g4. That
nice.
Surprises me. I thought that this was no good for white at all. Take knight e7, and now f5 comes.
It feels like everything's just rolling down the f file now, with the rook that is going to open up on f8. Suddenly bishop f3 threats are going to be massive. But at least after f takes e4, bishop e4 comes into defense. So f5, how is white reacting?
Can I go here? Which looks like a blunder, but I don't think it is one.
Bishop f3, you want to take queen e7?
Yep.
I feel like your queen's going to get trapped at some moment.
I think I can escape on e6. That's my hope.
Yeah, you've got e6.
So take and here. But you can win a pawn here, but I feel like at the expense of freeing up my position, and that's also hanging. I don't know. It might be absolute garbage. Maybe, well, actually, I don't know.
Queen
It
h4
doesn't
is a
look
very
that bad.
interesting idea.
Yeah, it doesn't look that bad, actually.
Maybe it's possible, surprisingly, that bishop f3, queen e7, and your queen's absolutely safe there because of the e6 square. All right, well, f5 on the board. Is David Anton going to go for queen h4 or not? Because he goes for queen g3. He goes for queen g3.
Yep, he plays queen g3, which I think is also okay.
Okay, by the way, we already have a result on the Magnus Anish board. So let's just update everyone with that. As well, 39% predicted. It did end in a draw. A comfortable draw, really, by Anish, this one.
Yeah, I don't think he was at any given point in any danger at all. So confidently holding, confidently headed towards the knockout phase. The Dutch GM is definitely bringing on the hoodie power.
Hoodie power. He's in it to win it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's quickly go on to the Aryantari Veyi matchup, because I've got the position in front of me and I love White's pieces. I mean, just let's compare all of White's army with Black's pieces. Those rooks on the E file, the only open file on the board, complete control. The knights in the center, the bishop on H2, the knight on E4, eyeing that D6 pawn, the queen on D3, bishop on C4, defend that D5 pawn, keep everything under control. Just centralized, focus pieces. Meanwhile, black's struggling with a little bit of space. The only trump that black has is the a5 weakness. But also then he needs to watch out for ideas along, which is actually why he played rook d8. I was going to say ideas along the d6, the weakness of d6, but he defends the d6 pawn. So he's threatening queen takes a5, the only weakness in white's position. But intuitively in this position, I just feel white has got to have the upper hand here.
I totally agree with you, Tanya. Although I'm very surprised about knight ed2. I was hoping to make knight g3, knight f5 work. Because I'm not sure where the knight is going from here. I would really not like to see that knight on b3. I wanted to flex the chess muscles and completely ignore this and just go here and here.
Maybe he did like knight f4. I mean, are the tactics working? Knight f4, rook e7, knight d3, rook c. It looks like it's probably not. Knight f4 is possible after knight g3. Yeah,
that was the 3:30 in the morning factor. The excitement is there, the brain isn't.
And this is, you know what? I think your idea, eventually the knight is rerouting itself from f1 to e3 to f5. You want it on f5. That's where the knight belongs, but he's just finding another path. Bishop f8. All right. The a5 pawn still under attack.
You still saved me, Tanya, very nicely from this horrendous blunder I just made with correcting my own mistakes. So thank you for that. Appreciate that. Knight f1, knight e3, knight f5 may be a thing. I don't know.
But is it too slow? Because queen a5, you start picking up the pawns, and then rook e8, you start trading the rooks, and I'm not really sure what's going on there.
Yeah, I think it may be a little bit optimistic. That being said, rook e8 always hangs d6, so...
True.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see what is going on there. A few moves have been made in the Prague game, and I'm still banking on black here for the longer run. So he kicked the light squared bishop out from c6 first to b5, and then chased it all the way back to f1, and now it got fianchettoed to g2, but not exactly a piece you would want to write home about. Vidit is pulling a tacticos.
Tacticos, what is the tacticos? Sure.
He just chucked a knight on d4 and he says, take that, baby. And the idea, of course, is that this move disconnects the rook from the knight. But that being said, I do think that after takes, the recapture is necessary, because if we take this, then perhaps taking on c5 could hurt, but maybe not. I don't know. Which one would you prefer, Tanya? Take this and hang both of these? Or take on d6 and weather the storm that may or may not come with the discovery?
Well, Nil saves me from answering any of those questions because he goes for knight takes f7.
Wow.
So a lot of counter tactics here. Knight d4, knight takes f7. Let's just back up and go a little slow here because there's so many pieces that are hanging.
Exactly.
He plays b5. So the knight on d4 is still just there, chilling, hitting that bishop on c4 now, which is defending the knight on f7. And Niels immediately blitzes out bishop f1, hitting the rook on h3.
Yeah,
this is insane stuff. Insane stuff.
There's more pieces hanging than you can poke a stick at. Like, it's like, what is going on here? It's too late for me to even figure out who is doing what to whom.
All right, so let's take a look at what's happening here. Let's try and look at some lines. So bishop f1 played, and it's also hard to say bishop h3 is a threat because knight e2 check would fork the king and the rook. He goes rook h4. That's a sane move. You step back with the rook.
For a change, you mean?
Move. Yes, for a change, it's the same move. You know, the e4 pawn is under attack. The knight on f7 is attacked. And I think after c takes d4, you're not going to capture the knight on f7 just yet, but go c takes d4.
Yeah. I think knight e5 is going to be the course of action. And then take d4.
Very interesting. Let's take a look at this line. Knight e5, knight e5.
Hopefully I didn't blunder
d4, knight
anything.
c4. No, I don't think it's a blunder. Knight c4.
Take?
Bishop c4 you've got. No, I think bishop c4 because b2 was under attack. So that's just...
Yeah, that's what I meant. The take and then d5, yeah.
Absolutely. So you've got to take on d4 here. C takes d4.
Yep. And then take. And then e4 falls and then... I don't even know. What is
Maybe
going on
rook
again?
c8, throw in a rook c8 in the middle right now.
Yeah, it
Just
looks
join
like
the
white
party.
might be up material, but the black pieces are ridiculously active.
And you're only going to be you're just going to have an extra pawn. I mean, I'm going to
Yep.
win the e4 pawn anyway. And yeah, it's hard to say. Rook h4 on the board. Very interesting position. Kneels down to 2 minutes on the clock.
Wow, by the way, Ding Liren is beating Eric, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's quickly
So-
jump over before we come back here.
It just looks to me like an extremely awkward situation where all the black pieces are jammed in that queen side. Many of them hanging, and the queen is very much wayward on a2. I'm not sure about the finish of blow here, but I'm nearly certain that this is losing by force.
This looks like a disaster, no? An absolute disaster for black. At some point, I think black got greedy with the a2 pawn, as often happens, queen a2, and then everything just fell apart. I mean, look at the position that we have. Black is just so much behind in development, and white is not even a pawn down.
Yeah, no, this is a beaut now, for sure. Although there is a tactic here, which I think Ding Liren missed. He had bishop c4 in this position. And not only am I gonna get the queen if you take mine, but I retain the pawn, and in fact, I'm on the best diagonal.
Nice move, bishop c4. But I think what he played, queen e1, it still keeps advantage because black's knight on b8 is still not developed. I mean, you've got to go knight d7 at some point. But then this is the moment you got to do it. And then does white want to simply go knight c6 here? Bishop c4 now, your move.
Oh, either or. Either or, I would say.
All right, well, bishop c4 played. We'll come back to this. Let's jump back to the Vidit game where basically the house was on fire.
Yep, I think it still is, Tania. It is not going to be put out anytime soon. The fire brigade is not even en route.
Okay, we got to back up. We got to back up and see what got traded. I think it was a line that you were mentioning.
Yeah, so knight e5 was played, and then take on d4 happened. Then now we are waiting for... Actually, white might have knight f3 here. Just to add even more fuel to set fire, when black actually might consider sacking the exchange.
100%. That's what I was thinking about.
I know.
Just too attractive to not go for it.
I would like to say, Tania, the great minds think alike here.
I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's just so tempting. Knight f3 on the board, by the way. We might be seeing this line. I don't know what the evaluation here is.
Oh, boy. I just peeked at the engine. The engine likes DE3, but gives a slight edge to white in that variation. And in fact, here the engine...
Vidit has that expression. He's definitely looking at this line. He's slightly surprised with the move knight f3. And you know what? I know Vidit a little bit. He's going for d takes e3.
Oh, yeah, that facial expression. I don't know him, but that facial expression...
I feel I've just put too much pressure. Now, if he doesn't go for it, I'm just going to feel so bad about saying this.
No. On the contrary, I agree with you. And actually, that is the right move to play from a sports tactical point of view as well, because Niels is in time trouble. So you want to increase the tension, if anything, to make his job as messy as possible. So yeah, DE3 is definitely called for.
Okay, big question for Vidit. Will he go for the sacrifice or not? We let him have a think. As you mentioned, the engines approve of d takes e3. So a big moment. It's also, I think, it's just so uncomfortable for Vidit to not play d takes e3. I mean, what's the alternative? He can go rook takes e4, but then at least white can capture on e5 and take on d4.
Yeah,
he goes bishop e4. He goes bishop e4 instead. And the bar, eval bar, does not approve.
Oh, no. So
turns out I don't know Vidit.
Well, actually, to be fair to you, this is a very similar idea. So he still hangs the rook. In fact, if they take the rook now, I dare say that it would be some kind of a transition.
Maybe he wants to give a check first after rook c8. He goes knight d4, not giving a chance to take the bishop on e3 anymore. And After rook c8, he's saying my king is safe on d2. This looks absolutely crazy, no?
Yeah, I am with you. This is still madness. I mean, Niels doesn't have any time, so I think he's playing on instinct here.
Wow, 25 seconds on the clock in a very... Let's just have some moves on our analysis board. We've got the live board with us. The rook c8 check is so tempting. King d2 feels like the only move. Well, it is the only move on the board. And after king d2, can you just take on d4 and go rook c2? Well, it's the most direct line. Can we have a look at that?
In fact, bishop f3 is also on with hitting rook and bishop, but then check. So let's go with check.
Let's start with check first. And now, where do you want to go with your king to e3, right?
E1. I don't know. I'm a bit scared about some
king e1,
checkmates.
bishop f3. By the way, rook c8, king d2 on the board. Big question, will he swap the bishop for the knight on d4 now?
Yeah.
King e1, can you...
Okay, sorry. So take, check. I don't know which way is to the correct
King e1,
way.
I thought bishop f3, no?
Yeah, I think you are correct. Yeah, you're right. Let's go king e3.
But king e3 doesn't look less scary, by the way, because all I want is a check on e4. Just need to... But the thing is, if I go bishop b7, you go bishop d3 and everything is under control and you're happy.
Yeah, I wanted to make this mate work. That would be the checkmate of the day. But of course, as soon as you land on b6, the bishop is going to go for you, eliminating the main threat. I don't want to rain too hard on anyone's party, by the way, but according to the cold-hearted engine, the best move for black in this position is a6.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, good luck.
That's when you go like, I don't like that type of chess. That's not what humans do.
But you know what? It is what very strong players would, because if bishop d4 doesn't work, you don't want to give up that bishop, Andras. And once you point out a6, you have to save the b5 pawn. And it's just saying that you keep the tension and you play a6. It's not what the spectators and the commentators are living for. Moves like a6 don't get our heart racing. But I think if you calculate bishop d4 doesn't get you anything, then a6 kind of makes a lot of sense.
Yep, indeed. That's just a way to demonstrate, I think, prudence and wisdom in chess. He goes for knight b6 now, which is actually a very cheeky way to go for the mate that we discussed before.
It's
by the way,
idea, but it keeps the knight alive on b6. No, bishop b6. So after knight takes b5, now you've got rook c2 check and bishop f3 coming in.
In the meantime, Pragnan and Sam Shankland fizzled out to a draw.
5 seconds to Niels. Niels needs to make a move. He goes bishop b5.
Right. And now comes to discuss bishop d4, rook c2, when king e3 is mate with knight d5.
So you have to go king e1. It's the only square.
Yep. And perhaps now we play your bishop f3.
I love bishop f3 with rook e4 coming in. What do you do after bishop f3? Do you have bishop f6 check? Is that annoying?
Potentially, yeah.
Potentially annoying. Well, king e1 on the board and bishop f3, we are looking at this line. It's happened with it goes for bishop f3, hitting that rook on d1, attacking, threatening a check on e4. I think bishop f6 has to be played here.
Because
you don't have a good square for the rook.
Unbelievably, the engine says bishop d3 was the move.
By the way, bishop f6 played, but bishop f6 is just such a human move to make, no?
Yes, I agree. That was most definitely the human way. But even bishop d3 is the engine's top move. And he plays it.
Wow, Niels finds it in seconds.
Insane. And the idea is that if takes, just give up the exchange and the two bishops will take care of the business. Now, this is why these guys are 2600 plus GMs, because they find engine moves under insane pressure like absolute champions. Whoa, Mishra is winning.
Should we just quickly jump to that?
Let's
take a quick look.
F2 just got taken after a long... But now white actually has some initiative on the light square, so maybe I jumped the gun a bit too soon there.
But look at the two players. Look at Abhimanyu. He looks so confident.
Possible.
It's a very strange approach by Hari in this entire game. No, I'm slightly surprised with how he handled the opening.
Yep, can't agree more there. I couldn't agree more that that was a very weird way to go about this game. Yeah, where were we? Oh,
It's
yes.
Still very tricky. Still very tricky.
Lots of moves have been played in the Niels Vidit game. So Vidit managed to take one of the pawns down and has, I would say, some minimal practical chances to convert this to a win. And the reason why I'm saying this is because the white king is cut off entirely on the second rank.
I think these are very real chances. You know, you're coming with your rook to h2, hitting that pawn on b2, and he does it. He doubles on the second rank. One of the pawns is going to fall. You've got rook f1. You don't have rook f1 because you trade and then rook h1 would win the bishop. So he wins a pawn. I think this is busted for Niels, actually.
It looks terrible now. Yeah, maybe rook e2 and then just cross the crucial e file with the king and bring it to the action. This looks really bad news now.
And I think it just came down to those seconds, on the clock, and just bungling up in that very complicated position that we had.
Yep. Yes, indeed. Rook d1 was played, so now king e5 is good to roll. Yep. I think, Tania, this is actually a Zugzwang. Or maybe king d1 was possible. I'm thinking that he had to give up d5, but maybe king d1 was possible.
Yeah, but this is just over now, no? I think you
get... Oh, and now you just trade rooks and penetrate.
You can just trade the rook and come with the king.
Yeah, the king just comes in all the way, takes the pawn, and that's a win.
Wow, all right. So Vidit, if he wins this one, he climbs back, but I think he would still need to win the final round to have a shot at qualification. But a big win, especially from the position that we just had. It looked like Niels was the one who was in control, but then Vidit managed to mess things up for Niels with all these counter-attacking ideas. Well, he goes a5, which is also everything's fine because white's rook on the d file is just stuck there. You can never start attacking the a pawn because there's a mate. All right, well, we have action on some of the other boards. So let's take a quick look at some of the other stuff that's going on. And where do you want to jump to?
Mishra. Let's have a look at Mishra. He just got checked on g6 and he just dropped back to g8. I'm guessing he intends to meet the back rank check with rook f8. By the way, the position is materially still in balance. And in fact, according to the engine, white is now really, really doing well. I guess the fact that the e6 pawn has been eliminated will allow white to penetrate on f5 with the knight. In fact,
you start with knight f5?
I was about to say, right now is looking like a very good time to do so. And that endgame after queen takes, pawn takes is nightmare.
Let's just show that on the board. Let's just show your idea. Knight f5. You have to take. And now suddenly the d6 pawn is under attack. The black's king is stuck on g8. The g6 pawn super strong. It's kind of hard to say. For example, you've got to move.
Rook f3 was played.
Rook f3. I'm not sure. I really liked your move knight f5, by the way.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised about this. Now he might have time to bring the king around.
But you're not in time because king g4, king f5.
True.
So king g4, king e7, king f5, stopping that king from coming to f6. And it's just the kind of position where the knight jumps around. Black's bishop, take a look at white's pawns. Black's bishop has no targets at all. While white's knight will jump around, find itself on d5, come to b5, start putting pressure. It's a good knight versus a bad bishop endgame. White can even put a pawn on g4 so that the f2 pawn isn't under attack. Basically, black has got nothing to attack on the board with the bishop.
Yeah, what I think, Tania, the problem is from white's point of view, is that whilst this king looks extremely attractive, it has not a lot of places to go to. And even if you get a knight on d5, king d7 will keep you out from penetration here.
I was hoping for some ideas like knight f6 check, sacrifice the knight, knight h5, hit that pawn on g7. But how am I getting to d5? Now that I'm looking at the position, I'm not finding a way onto d5.
Yeah, because the bishop is going to cancel out all the squares that would allow you to access the d5 square.
Also, if we
Yeah.
can just point out with arrows this idea that we were mentioning, that once the knight comes on d5, it might still look like a fortress, but white does have this motive of going knight f6, knight h5, because you can
Yeah, so
never take
Yeah,
maybe
knight
just
f6.
arrows, maybe, yes, a knight f6
Yeah,
would be
so
just,
if the knight got in
very
here,
strong.
king here, and then knight check was the idea. And if pawn takes, then the pawn marches in. And if king back, then you will go knight h5, yeah?
Yes, and then king e6 after king f8. So, but the problem
Yeah.
is, the more you look at the position, you realize that white's knight doesn't have a way in.
Ooh, c5 is very creative. The idea is to vacate a square for the knight from where it actually has targets. And the extra pawn is irrelevant here because neither of these can move on. So
That
these
is
two
super
pawns,
ambitious.
yeah, hold 3 black pawns. This is beautiful because now he actually has carved away.
Wow, this is just a beautiful idea. And look at that king d7. And now the idea we've been talking about. Knight hits the bishop, go knight d6, go knight d5, go knight f6.
Yeah, genius. Genius.
Unbelievable.
Mm.
And it's happening. It's happening.
Insanely beautiful chess.
Is he going to play knight f6 next? Is that going to happen? Oh my god, he plays it.
Legend, Tania, legend. We can clearly see that you are on the back of a training camp, right?
Yeah, I can feel it. I can feel it. Oh my god, I can't believe. And this move c5. I mean, we were just talking about how white has no way to get onto d5. And then Abhimanyu finds this stunning idea with c5.
You mean Hari?
Sorry, Hari finds this stunning idea with c5
Yeah.
and lands the knight on d5.
In fact, you found that stunning idea of bringing the knight in, so the credit is yours.
Amazing
By the way,
stuff.
Vidit also won, so this is looking like a very good round for India. So that was just a checkmate. Aryan Tari is definitely not losing this, in my opinion, especially since Wei is on 2 seconds.
I mean, it's also the position. You've got an extra pawn with black, but look at those 2 rooks on the 7th rank.
Monster. Knight f5.
White can just never be worse here, no?
Nah.
G7 under fire, and now you've got a trade on D7, go maybe. And you're going to lose the D5 pawn.
Yep. Yeah, this
But
is
it's
going to be a
probably
draw.
just a draw, yeah? It's just knight B6, you go rook D6.
Yeah. Or even rook b7. Nah, rook b7.
No, rook
I was
B7
thinking.
is nice as well, and knight C4, rook D7. Actually, I think we might just see a repetition here.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. And I also think that Mishra will resign very soon, which will be a very bitter defeat for him because he had the upper hand in the opening and in the end he collapsed. Yeah.
No,
So
that
this
was an
looks-
incredible move, C5. I just loved it. You know, it was finding this path onto D5 was the real challenge, and Hari just showing absolute class with C5 there.
Yeah, that was next level.
Next level
Absolutely.
stuff here.
Yeah. Okay,
All
so we're
right.
definitely headed for a draw now. Everything comes off. So I will move away from here back to Hari, who is now hunting all those very exposed and weak black pawns. They are all going to drop, all 3 of them. And nothing Mishra can do about this. This is just such a depressing position to be in. Yeah.
And it just felt after that rook F2, when Abhimanyu got his rook on to the F2 square, like nothing could go wrong for black. And then suddenly finding that path in with Queen G6 and putting on the pressure, trading off the pieces, going into this good knight versus bad bishop endgame, and that's it. He boxes up the king and...
Do you know what
But
he's
what's the-
planning to do? He wants to move this knight up here to box the king even further in. This is real
Ooh,
sadism on a chessboard, by the way.
So knight C7, knight D5, knight D7. Once more, the knight arrives on D5 or knight
Yeah.
D8, knight C6.
Yeah. This is
Super
torturous. This is torturous. And then king f7 and then knight f5 and pick off the g7 pawn.
No, this is just not looking good at all.
This is some Karpovian endgame torture, no less.
I just got chat. I just pulled up chat in front of me, and the first comment I see by Daniel, Haripa Blanca. It's, of course, we know Capablanca and his endgame technique, while Hari also showing some absolute class in this endgame. Beautiful chess, I agree.
Indeed. By the way, Chessbra escaped from the jaws of defeat and pulled off a perpetual check. Remember that we already considered this to be case closed back here. And somehow Chessbra survives. Saxon exchange, still completely dead, by the way. And then somehow manages to hang on. He's a fighter.
That looks like a very nice, healthy exchange, no?
Oh, it looks like totally resignable as far as I'm concerned.
How did
if someone resigned this, I wouldn't be surprised.
How do you go from this analysis board position to this final position that we have?
Exactly. I think he must have started running his pawns on the king side, and it didn't quite. Ooh. So he blundered h5, I reckon. Maybe it's not as obvious of a win because you can never leave the back rank without getting mated. Yeah, Mishra just resigned, but I'm not going to go back because there were hardly any extra moves played. In fact, instead, I'm just going to admire this technique by Chessbra to hang on. And yeah, I mean, surely time had to be a factor in this game too. And eventually he managed to come in from behind and deliver the perpetual check, which, by the way, means that all of our games are over. So quick recap. Anish easily drew against Magnus. Aryan Tari held the draw without any dramas. A fantastic battle between Nils and Vidit, very to and fro. In the end, the Indian GM pulled up victorious. Sam Shankland scored a reasonably easy draw against Prague. We saw the drama of the Hare Krishna Mishra game with this marvelous c5 break. Boy, that was absolutely amazing. We didn't really watch this for too long, but it always looked really bad from get-go for Gawain Jones when he tried to play that symmetrical endgame with two knights against the two bishops. We didn't really have an awful lot to do with this game, which also ended in a draw between David Anton and Mamed Yarov. And Dingler and Eric Hansen draw brings us to the last round. Tanya, tell us, please, the standing. Have you got the standing for us on the ready?
We do. It all comes down to this final game of the Chessable Masters preliminaries. And take a look at this. Still a lot to fight for, especially for those last two spots. Andras, if you take a look at the standings, David Anton and Aryan Tari not looking safe at all on that 7th and 8th spot, because chasing behind is Hare Krishna with 18 points and Vidit with 17. Now, with a win, the players get 3 points. So it really just comes down to who they're playing against. And this is where we are with the matchups. We've got, let's see who Hari's got. Hari's got Sam and Vidit has got Prague. Oh my God, that's a massive Indian matchup right there.
Oh, that is going to be very delicious for those who are not cheering from India, but I suppose it must be a heartbreaker. Ouch.
Let's just bring up our standings one more time on our screen. And David Anton and Aryan Tari, who are they playing against? Because it's really, I think everyone from the top 6 are safe. They've got not much to worry about. But David Anton and Aryan Tari, David playing against Jordan and Tari against Anish, that's a tough one. So we've got...
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be a very exciting last round.
Yeah, I think that this is Tanya, a good time for us to ask for a very short break, and so we can get ourselves ready for the final round of the preliminaries to see which 8 players will proceed to the knockout stage. So bear with us. We will be back shortly. A quick break now, and we will deliver you the last round.
time to take control of your journey towards chess mastery. Magnus Carlsen introduces Chessable, the definitive solution for studying chess. Move Trainer uses the science of spaced repetition to identify your strengths and eliminate your weaknesses. There's no need to set up a board, remember which page you're on, or keep track of all the moves you miss. Get started now and join our growing community of over 100,000 chess enthusiasts. Chessable, take control of your journey towards chess mastery.
Hi there, it's me, John Chess, inventor of chess. And are you sick of sucking at chess? Well, lucky for you, I have also invented aim chess. Look at this chess puzzle. Did you solve it? Of course not, that's because you're not using aim chess. Aim chess is a digital chess trainer that helps you improve by creating unique lessons based on your recent games. Just link your chess.com, Chess or Chess24 account and feel that brain wrinkle. Yeah, see, you shouldn't have blundered your queen just there. Now I know! Thanks, Aim Chess! Now all that's left to figure out is how that funny horse moves. They even got acquired by that one chess player other than Hikaru, so you know it's good. Hi, it's me, that guy I just mentioned, and I am the best chess man in the world. But thanks to Aim Chess, I also have a girlfriend now as well. This could be you! Personalized training, game reports and analysis disease, study plans, thick, luscious hair, intuition builder, all this and more available on Aim Chess.
Hello?
Courtney, did you know that Aim Chess users improve their ratings 43% faster than average?
What?
So what are you waiting for? Join Aim Chess today. Links will be somewhere, probably. I don't know, I just made the video. Aim Chess. Sign up now and get 50k silver and 2 free months off your VPN. Now that's what I call a queen's gambit. That's so fucking dumb. Aim Chess. For when you aim to chess. That's their slogan. It's what they say. Ready, aim, chess. That's another. It's... Look, just sign up for Aim Chess, okay? Just... Come on. Literally, why not? Alright, just stop being a dick for like 5 seconds and just go. Alright? Jesus Christ.
Okay, so let's send a challenge.
Here is challenging. Nice graphics, easy to see. Oh, what are you thinking about? You're looking how it can be the most painful?
Exactly. Okay, fine.
That I give up a phone. He wants to be even rude.
Welcome everybody!
My name is Jan Pomnishi, former world chess champion.
Are starting a new course here for Chessable.
A very special Chessable course.
Master your chess with Judith Polgar.
You know what? I learned a lot.
Gains that confidence, plays a few good events, stops looking inwards into his own insecurities.
I like the no expectation part, so like that's something that has gotten better because sure, it's like not my full-time job.
It's definitely good for chess in India, and now there is Olympiad also, so there'll be more people following and taking up chess as professional sport.
Yeah.
And it's surprisingly concrete still, no? Like, e takes d4, good move. This d takes e4, the d takes e5.
This line was essential and forced, but also not rocket science to map out.
Air quality isn't the first thing that comes to mind when you think about chess and esports, but it affects our focus, decision-making, health, sleep, and more. What's in the air you breathe? Find out with Air Things.
Hello everyone and welcome back as we're about to lift off the final round of the preliminaries here at the Chessable Masters. The action is hot, hot, hot. Andras, we've been talking about the standings and all the action that's coming up, and it really comes down to the fight for the 7th and the 8th spot. What kind of turnarounds are you expecting?
Don't know, but I'm definitely preparing for exactly the 7th and 8th place and the most important matches in that regard. So I have got Anish Giri against Aryan Tari on the screen because Aryan Tari is, I think he needs to secure his place there. And also it will be very interesting to watch David Anton, who has got the black pieces against Jordan Van Forest. So I don't know. And do we have still some chances for those on place 9 and 10 to perhaps turn it around? Either way, I think there will be a lot of excitement in this last round. So most definitely an exciting hour of chess awaits.
And look at this, look at our screen. We've got all our 16 players. Well, it will be the end of the road for 8 of them after this round, while the other 8 will qualify for the quarterfinals. That starts tomorrow. We can see the screen slowly but surely filling up. Big round for, well, these 4 players who are fighting for that 7th and 8th spot. Magnus Carlsen there on the screen looking absolutely focused. Anish Giri, the last one to arrive. Well, we're still waiting for Gwen Jones on the screen here. Hari Krishna with a fantastic win with that beautiful move C5 against Abhimanyu keeps his chances of qualification alive as well. Aryan Tari currently in the top 8, looking to finish off in style. Big matches coming up. Let's take a look at our pairings for this upcoming round.
Yeah, we have got Magnus Carlsen against Erik Hansen. Actually, the other way around, rather. So Erik Hansen against Carlsen, Shakhriyar against Ding Liren.
Andras, let's do predictions. This is our final round. We got to do predictions on this one. Magnus versus Erik. Who's your pick?
Draw.
Oh, wow. Draw. All right. You know what? Erik starts with white. This one's so difficult to predict. I'm going to go for a Magnus win on this. Shak versus Ding Liren.
Draw.
Draw. All right. Well, we're gonna be doing the prediction game, but I think action has started. So let's
I'll put something on the board. Yeah.
Sure. And we see all our players with us, ready to go. And wow, you said you want to put something on the board. Erik Hansen versus Magnus Carlsen. And what kind of an opening is this?
Yeah, it's the Morozevich French. Is what this is called, where black actually wants to play for a win very early on with the French claiming the 2 bishops, wanting to play f5, wanting to play c5, blast the position open for those bishops. b6 is also a move here. So first he wants bishop b7, knight d7, and then break with c5. Interesting stuff. Jordan Van Forest against David Anton features a very solid Giacopiano, correctly known as the Italian, or rather in another name. The all-Indian encounter is a Rossolimo Sicilian. Very interesting to see what's going to happen there. And
this one, Andras, of course, with it and Prague, they're colleagues, they're teammates, but also it's a bit of a grudge match here because the 2 did play against each other in the Tata Steel, which was the last time they played against each other, and Prague won that game. So with the white pieces here, I think he's definitely going to try and create his chances.
Right. And look at this cheeky move. Anish Giri, knight f6, knight e5. Oh no, my queen. Take that. Of course, knight takes e4 would be met by the very cheeky bishop takes f7 checkmate. Where is my hoodie, brother? I'll put my hoodie on for this. And then e6, queen f4 is the way how the game continues. I don't mind this for white. I don't mind this for white at all. d4 is going to come, and black still has to fight here for equality, that's for sure. All right. Niels Grandelius against Wei Yi. Wei Yi repeats the exact same setup in the night off. And surprisingly, I still don't like it for the second time for white.
Also breaking, we already have a result on the Shak Ding board.
No way.
Yeah, I'm as surprised as you are. Let's just see what happened there.
Okay, well, they just decided to call it a day and spend a Yeah, spend the last hour in the canteen, or well, actually there is no tournament venue, he's sorry. So yeah, just chilling, I suppose. It's a wow. Okay. I mean, they secured their places, so they might as well just get some rest. Fair enough. Obviously, it's not a very spectator-friendly outcome, but yeah,
Very
this is what it is.
understandable. Very understandable from the players' perspective. Dinglerin and Shakrar Mamedyarov, after fighting for immense fights for 14 rounds, decide to take it easy in the final one, have secured their spot in the quarterfinals. And of course, the tournament just begins as we've got the knockout stages starting tomorrow.
Indeed. So the All Indian Encounter is going to be a very exciting game, because this particular setup against the Rosalimo is a very ambitious one by Black, where Black is willing to take on several structural issues: the double pawns, the D square, D6 square. The king is a little bit wonky on this diagonal. So the whole entire position just looks very wobbly for Black. But it has a latent potential of slowly rolling forward, and the two bishops can become very potent once a couple of pawns disappear from the board. I expect a lot from this game in terms of entertainment and action.
I mean, are you not entertained already? Look at that. H4, H5 on the board, E5 breaking onto the center, and with it, with that move, puts Pragnananda in the think tank. How do you want to react with your pawn structure? It's really a big question, because he needs to decide if he wants to trade on E5. You kind of don't want to make the move F5, because it forever weakens the G5 square and really cramps Black's position. So Prag takes the call to dissolve the center. Knight takes E5, immediately hits that knight back with D6, aiming to go E5, open up that bishop on C8, bring it to G4, and continue with development. Knight C4 on the board. Well, after E5 now, it might lead to white playing knight E4. So I just don't know if Black has the time to go E5 anymore.
Maybe I just have knight somewhere now. Maybe, I don't know where though. Maybe knight G6, and if bishop G5, then just slide here.
And you're threatening to go D5 next.
Yes, potentially. Yes. Yeah,
All
I think it's
knight
doable.
C4.
I think it is doable. But Prague is still thinking.
Very interesting stuff. So knight C4 on the board. Prague having a think there. We've got the two players finally with us on the camera. And a very crucial moment here. Knight C4 played. Knight E4 ideas, as we saw, can be met by knight G6. So things still under control. And it just looks like Vidit is the one who's blitzing out moves. So Prague needs to be precise right now. And we'll come back to this and see how he handles this opening phase. Should we continue with our opening tour?
Yeah, why not? Why not coconut? As we like to say, we haven't seen actually Sam Shankland against Harry. So this is an interesting story. What was this opening? So this was a Ragozine with the trade on D5, bishop back, and then bishop F5. This is considered to be rather harmless from White's point of view. And now Sam decides to grab a pawn, giving up a lot of time and open files. So now rook D8, rook E8. The bishops are very active. I quite like Black, and I'm going to hazard here a guess, Tanya, that you like it for Black too.
You know, the thing about Sam is he's just so well prepared in openings, and he's generally not the kind of player who goes for material to give up the initiative until he knows what he's doing. So it's sort of hard to imagine that he's taken on D5 just because he wanted the extra material. I think Sam still knows what he's doing. And queen takes D5, undoubtedly with rook E8 coming in, rook D8 coming in, one can clearly see the compensation. But I think Sam knows what he's doing right now.
By the way, this position was still, it is still theory. There were games for this position. So not many. Sam, rook F8 is the engine stop choice. But yeah, I think you are correct, by the way, in describing Sam as a very cautious customer. Knight F5 was played in by Pragnananda, keeping the flexibility of the pawns and also keeping Vidit guessing about which pawn is going to move forward and when. So this is a very exciting battle for the time being. The game to follow as far as I'm concerned. A quick look at Wei Yi. This seems to be a lot more solid than the way he played it against Anish. So now it seems to me that f3 might be coming. Bishop g2 makes some kind of sense. This seems to be very much in balance. And Anish hasn't moved for a fair while and finally commits to queen g3, retreating the queen from f4, opening up the bishop's diagonal all the way to h6 potentially, but also to g5 if need be. Now, what I find particularly interesting about this, Tania, is that contrary to my impression, the engine reckons black is doing fantastically here due to this c5 thrust.
Oh, is c5 the move here, yeah? Wow, okay, so let's take a look. c5, my first thought is, why not bishop h6? Is it because of knight h5?
Yeah, and I think I also can sneak in a check first. I don't know how relevant that is, but it's definitely doable. Yeah, you are right. Of course, knight h5 is the name of the game, and if queen g4,
it's got to be knight h5 before or after check.
Yeah,
Queen g4?
then we can take this, and now I think the whole position is just, yeah, it's about to collapse.
And you're just saying that after queen takes h5, you simply take on. Do you take g8-6 or you take the knight first? Because if you go g8-6, there's knight g4.
Yeah, there is, but
you don't care?
I don't think I see necessarily what you're threatening with.
Maybe queen a5 check is the point. Instead of g8-6, could you have gone queen a5, queen e5?
Yeah, that's the cleanest. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you just end up how many pawns? An extra pawn, yeah?
Too many to count. Let's go with that.
Well, at least one.
Yeah. Definitely better for black. So c5 is a move to find for Tari, and then he's going to look very, very happy.
Wow. And look at Anish. Look at Anish. He's the picture of concentration right now.
Yeah. Do we call that bluffing, or do we call that poker face, or is he hiding? Well, of course, none of the above, because they can't see each other, I guess. But yeah. Yeah, his hoodie is not quite on, so.
Is he gonna find? Wait, what's your take on this, Andras? Do you think Aryan's going to find c5 here?
I do.
You do, yeah?
Yep.
Chat, what do you think?
Yeah.
Andras pointing out c5 is the way to go for black, not to get scared, not to be afraid of bishop h6. Knight h5 keeps things under control. Will Aryan Tari find the move c5 here? It actually gives black something to play for. It's ambitious play by black. Amazing stuff. All right, we'll come back and see whether Aryan goes for this or not.
Oh, he just did.
Oh, he just did. Wow.
Yep,
he finds
he
it.
Just did. Yeah. Interesting news that Chessbra, Eric Hansen, seems to be having the upper hand against Magnus, whose king got stuck in the middle because of the D file, which is a little bit mysterious to me how that I see. So knight e5 brought about this little problem. That knight is a mighty monster there, and c5, of course, can be met by the extremely powerful bishop b5, ignoring the hanging rook. It is just very, very powerful. But now that black king is stuck in the middle. Yeah, I don't know, maybe queen g2 is a move with the idea of coming in all the way to g7. What would you do here, Tania?
I'm just looking at our live board, and I have to say I'm in a little bit of a shock because I don't like black's position at all. In this time control, right now, yes, he's got twice the amount of time that Eric has, but the rook's not connecting and the king stuck in the center. I have to say that this is a dream position for Eric Hansen. Yeah. It's not even compensation. I mean, the material's absolutely equal.
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing that is concerning for Eric is the time.
But, this is usual for Eric. I mean, we've seen him throughout the Champions Chess Tour. He's always low on the clock, but he knows he's fast when he's low on the clock. Hopefully, he will be able to keep it under control, but this is a dream outcome from the opening against the world champion.
Yeah, couldn't agree more there. Could not agree more there.
Queen g2 on the board, and what does he want? Does he want to go queen g7? Is that the idea?
I dare say it is, yes.
And
rook. Wow, Magnus just blitzing out responses immediately. This guy knows no fear.
Or he just doesn't. Is there any football on right now? Because that would explain Magnus's speed a lot.
Tennis is on, Tanya. I can confirm that. Roland Garros has started. So, yeah.
Tennis, I'm not sure. But if it was a football on, then I wouldn't put it past Magnus.
Yeah, by the way, rook d8 is actually a very good move because guess what? One way to solve the problem of separated rooks is to trade one of them. And then your rooks are no longer separated because there's only one left.
So rook d8 played bishop e2. And I still think white is doing well here. But I get your point that it's just less pressure once you trade the rooks off. And slowly, black's king can actually march across to c8 if you want at any point. But probably it belongs on e8. You know, the more you look at it, it defends that f7 pawn.
By the way, I don't want to be Mr. Told You So, but I predicted a draw on board 2. It's already a draw. And I predicted a draw on board 1. I'm not saying it is a draw, but my most likely outcome is still a draw. By the way, did Mishra blunder a pawn to this very famous classic trick of knight takes d4 and if bishop d7 then knight f3 check in between move? And that's a pawn. Or is there some knight takes d4 idea here? Yeah, actually now I'm looking at the eval bar and the eval bar says that this is a terrible move. I'm guessing knight c d4, right? And if takes, then we take d7, and then we take on d4, and the black king is just utterly weak.
It's just so weak, right? This doesn't look good for black at all, actually.
Yeah, and now I'm looking at my good friend, the machine, who tells me, nah, just take like this, and when they take here, just take that too.
I love that, because if you take on e5, you can just maybe just trade first and go bishop e5, and that's a deadly pin on f6.
Absolutely. So I think knight h5 is forced here, in fact.
Oh, wow. And he doesn't. He goes for the other knight to d4.
Yeah. Which is... Maybe he wants this queen to have a chance to
there's a
jump
knight on
in.
f6, so not easy. Well, we'll come back to this. Can we quickly jump over to the way he kneels Grandelier's board, because action's hot there as well. The g file's opened up. Bishop f6. Let's just have that position.
Whoa. Okay, let's actually we don't need to go back too much. This is where we left it off. Bishop h4 was played, rook g1 was played, f5. Actually, f5 is a very thematic move in these knight offs for black, and all of a sudden black is going to win the game on the king side if white is not careful enough because of the split pawns. I really like the way actually Niels is playing this. It's still very sturdy and very solid. Slight edge for black, white according to the engine, but I think these types of positions are slightly easier to play for black because you can just follow the scheme, you can follow the patterns, whereas with white you need to actually come up with the goods to prove that this is indeed better.
No, I agree with you. Rook c8, try and target the c2 pawn as well. It looks like black definitely has plans that you can work towards and which are sort of easier to execute. So going to be an interesting one now for Aryan Tari and David Anton. This is a very big round because currently they're on 7th and 8th spot. So I want to take a look and focus on their games, Andras, because it really just comes down to what happens here. And Anish versus Aryan, a big matchup. Actually, this is the position that we were looking at and analyzing.
Except that Anish dropped back to f3, but the engine is telling us that Anish is in all kinds of trouble here. All kinds of trouble. I think check is going to be on the menu, and if bishop d2, then there is this cheeky queen c7 slide back, counterpunching on c4 rather than worrying about the knight on h5. And if the bishop were to move, then we can go knight f4. If we're, well, I mean, that's an optimistic version. Knight f6 is also possible, but I would go f4 actually. I'm after your bishops.
Yeah, no, this looks good. And after queen takes d4?
You mean here now?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm a pawn down. I just want to try and grab back.
I think I will jump on this with e5 and knight f4.
Knight f4, I really like that. And after queen h4, you've got knight f4. By the way, your idea, queen a5 check on the board.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to be forced. Like bishop d2, yep, done. And he's going to go back to c7. I mean, he might go queen f5, actually.
I like
But,
queen c7 or maybe even queen c5. Is that an option?
I believe so, yes. I believe so.
All right, well, looking really pleasant for Aryan this one. So he can be pleased with the opening outcome. And we can see he's also got control over the clock situation. He's up by a minute. So good start for Aryan. Anish, of course, has qualified for the quarterfinals already. So no pressure on him at all. Let's jump over to David Anton, who's not feeling safe yet about his qualification.
Yeah, by the way, Anish is using his hoodie incorrectly. He's putting the front on his face, not the back. So clearly Mr. Hoodie Master needs to improve his game in the hoodie department. David Anton is looking very safe, but is very safe good enough, Tania? Is a draw going to be sufficient for him to qualify? Assuming that he holds this.
Let's see if we can have our standings up and take a look at where the players stand. It's mid-game right now. If we can quickly at some point have our standings up. He is at 19 points. So a draw it just kind of depends then on how Hari and Vidit play their game.
Right. Okay.
Because he only gets 1 point. And with a draw, David Anton will move on to 20 points. And Hari Krishna can leapfrog him while Vidit can join him at 20 points.
I don't even know the decisive factors there, but you are right that both of them. So let's have a look at that game, because currently I'm thinking that David Anton's game might actually go towards a drawish outcome. So Vidit is looking well.
This is crazy. This is playing for all 3 results. And I
was
think
just about to say that, that they are playing for 3 results here. That's definite. That is
and I think, in fact, draw is the least likely of all 3 results in this position.
Indeed, and Hari Krishna set the board on fire too, by the way, against Sam Shankland. So the compensation that I was hoping for has actually materialized. B5. Check that out. Offering yet another pawn to gain a few more tempi for the attack. Sam says no, thank you. But now he can no longer take with the bishop because of knight d4. So the pawn had to take, compromising the king side. And now queen h4 is yet another attack due to the pin. Queenside castles, I believe, is ruled out by the hanging f2 pawn. So perhaps castles.
Oh, and this looks tricky, I mean, maybe short castle.
Bishop d6 then.
Bishop d6 and rook e6 ideas, trying to get the rook into the attack as well.
Yeah, I don't know rook e6 though, because
Bishop d3, yeah?
Or even just king h1, because you can't go to h6. So
but I don't know how king h1, then bishop d6, f4.
Yeah. But there is still plenty to play for there. So I don't know if castles is a good way at all to go. But this is gonna get very wild as well.
But it might be the only way to go. No, you're threatening rook takes e3, and you've got to sidestep it. The knight on c3 is pinned. Long castle is definitely out of the question with queen f2 coming in. So kind of don't see an alternative.
What about this?
It's an alternative.
I'm not trying to be oppositional. It's just I think it's actually logical.
Wait, what about rook takes e3 here? I mean, this is getting fun. Rook takes e3, a takes b4, knight takes d4.
Yeah, it's easy to have fun at my expense, right? Have a look at this, Tania. This would make a lot of people rather excited about chess, right?
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, so, well, it's your idea. I'm just enjoying the results of your tactical prowess. Very well done. Maybe queen d5?
Yeah, but here at least rook e8. No, I don't know what's going on. Maybe there's something else, but maybe just rook e8 or rook d8. Rook d8 might be better.
Yeah, I think against rook e8 I may be able to. Oh, maybe not.
No, I've got a queen on h4.
Yeah, no, I was getting carried away there. It is a mighty good looking idea. I like it a lot. So maybe it turns out that my cheeky attempt to be not so oppositional is not working. Let me just very briefly consult the devil. You know what the devil says? The devil says castle here.
Oh my god. I mean, if you just go long castle, giving up f2, e3 under attack, then I just don't understand chess at all.
Yes, wait, I will make it worse for you because the devil now wants to take this too.
Okay, you know what? I can bet my house on... Okay, maybe I shouldn't bet my house on this, but I don't think Sam is going
Yeah, I'm hearing you. This is not the natural way to play chess. But then again, these 23 and 700 rated GMs are capable of coming up with the engine moves.
He's making a move, Andras, and I'm really scared that I might have to just, the bet I just made.
Yeah, well, no, you didn't.
He's about to make a move. He's about to make a move. Don't go long castle. I lose my house.
Come on, Sam.
Oh
come
my
on,
God,
Sam.
you guys long castle.
Ouchie. Ouchie.
Let's just pretend like the last 20 seconds didn't happen on this broadcast.
That's correct. Nah, not at all.
All right, well, this is just unreal stuff. But this is, like you were mentioning, 2700 plus chess, It just feels so unnatural. Give up this f2 pawn, give up the e3 pawn, the b file is open. But these guys just calculate precisely and, well, play the best moves.
Wow.
Chat wants to know who gets the house.
Yeah, I was about to say that you have an apartment, not a house anyway. So that was the trick, right?
Queen takes e3 check. Oh my God. Honestly, long castle you mentioned is the best move. The engine suggests it. And it's just amazing that Sam finds it over the board. I would be so afraid to make this move.
I tell you, Tania, how you can get out of this mess. You can offer your house to Stockfish. Let's see if Stockfish takes it, because that was his idea. And if they don't claim it, it remains yours. I think it's a fair game.
We just planned that we're going to pretend that the last 20 seconds didn't happen. We just have to not bring that up again.
Yep. Sorry.
Let's go with the Stockfish idea. But yes, brilliant stuff by Sam here. Rook d2 now played. And I don't know what's going on. I mean, knight takes d4. The rook, but the b4 bishop is attacked as well. So knight d4 is probably not a move here. Can you go queen f3?
Wait a tick. What do you reckon about this? I'm talking to the devil.
Oh my God. Well, I don't have a house to bet anymore, so I don't know what to say.
I did not bring this up.
Rook d2 on the board, knight d4 and queen b4, knight f3. This is getting out of hand. I have no idea. I have to go rook d1 here? I mean, I don't have a move, right?
I believe you have to. Yes.
So rook d1 looks forced?
Yeah. Actually, here now the engine changes its mind to the very natural c5, by the way.
Very natural. Oh my God. Wait. Andras, let's ask chat. Chat, queen takes c5. Oh my God, this is getting easier actually now.
It is very easy, yeah.
Okay, let's see who gets it first in chat. Chat, queen takes c5 runs into what? I'm still waiting.
Maybe I'm not the only one falling asleep,
How are you falling asleep at all? How's anyone falling asleep? I mean, have you seen the kind of chess that we're witnessing? By the way, knight d4 on the board.
Oh my goodness. Well, I tell you how I'm falling asleep. It's 4:30 a.m. where I am.
Yes, that's true. Where you are, it's really late. And Sarvesh, you're right. Knight b3, a discover check would win the queen. So queen c5 is not an option there. And we can see our players. Well, Dingler and Chakra and Mamedarov ended in a draw. But we've got the rest 14 players here with us. And once again, only 8 will be joining us tomorrow for the quarterfinals.
By the way, Tania, I think I was celebrating a little bit too soon as far as the drawish outcome of Magnus's game was concerned, because it seems to me that the world champion has definitely neutralized White's initiative, and I'm getting worried here. I'm getting worried. That knight is looking a little bit wayward and lost in the jungle of the black pawns. Queen b7 is going to be an awkward pin. And these pawns are running down against the white king. I don't like the look of this.
How did Magnus manage to create this out of what he had?
Very good question. So let's have a look. Knight e2. Yeah, so relocating the rook on g6 was a very nice maneuver.
Mhm.
I like that a lot. And now it looks like Eric ran out of ideas, and that also the pressure on the clock that we have already highlighted once is definitely mounting.
Wow. Can I just say that it's really amazing how Magnus went rook h6, rook g6, rook h6, rook g6 at different moments, and that rook maneuver was just brilliantly played out by Magnus.
Yep, I couldn't agree with you more there. Let's have a look at the Indian gents. What's happening here? Well, as I said, all three results on the table. If maybe there was a fourth result, I would even put that there. I have absolutely no clue. This is just looking like an utterly irrational position. Perhaps f4 is the plan.
Fight.
Yes, it is gonna be fun.
It's going to be fun because look at the clock situation as well. Both players about, well, Vidit's got slightly more time on the clock, but not that much. Rook e1 played. Andras, if you had to pick a color, what would you pick here? What side would you want to be on?
It loses for both. That much is certain. But I think I would prefer to be black. But
wow, with that
I'm
G6,
going
H5 to, stuff, yeah?
Yeah, I'm going to change my mind probably in 10 seconds time. But yeah.
But I think I know why you want black. You really like that bishop on d5.
Yeah, I do actually. You are right. And I also like the b file. But nothing concrete is there that could really justify my decision. So I don't know.
Going for a5?
Yeah, probably the fact too that I play Sicilian with black, but I don't play the Rosalimo with white. So the Rosalimo is an enemy of mine.
So Prague has a clear idea, right? He wants to go a4, a3. Knight takes a5 is unimaginable, even if not bishop a2, rook a8, rook a2. You just never want to calculate those lines. f4 is what needed to be looked at, and f4 is what Vidit goes for, taking advantage of the pin along the e file, creating play, f5 in the air as well. And this is an absolute mess. Let's try and take a look at some of the potential lines that can happen here. What comes to your mind for black? Do you... It's so hard because if you go a4, you can just go f5.
Yeah, I hate to tell you this, Tania, but I consulted my devil friend who will tell you the very natural bishop e6.
The very natural. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, that was my reaction too. What did you just do? And the idea was to just push past. And
queen e6, but one second, doesn't queen e6 invite f5?
But what if I take it?
I just thought knight h5, or you're not worried about knight h5 then?
Well,
maybe you're not worried, yeah, because you've got queen h6 as well. Maybe
well, the knight cancels out your threats there, so I don't know. Queen e6 actually is approved by the engine, I think, by the way.
Good stuff.
So now
good stuff.
Yeah, the engine wants rook f1, reinforcing f5, by the way, and then I suppose I will take on c4. But remember that the players are not privy of what the engine thinks, and that makes this game an absolute mess. Speaking of mess, by the way, check out Harry against Sam Shankland, which is naturally, of course, a very normal position. And by the way, if my engine is correct, which is a very paradoxical way to start a sentence,
piece up, right?
Yeah, it's just all over.
Because white has an extra piece.
Completely over. And I tell you what went wrong, just to clarify that too. After queen c4, he absolutely had to take this, and he didn't.
Wow. And instead, he made the move.
He just went rook d8.
And after rook d1, now you can't take knight takes f3. What happened? What's the difference after knight f3?
I think knight d5,
knight
perhaps?
d5. Knight d5.
Maybe. Maybe.
But that's also kind of not that clear. What is happening after knight f3? Because the eval bar just says it's completely busted for black.
Actually, it says, my lovely friend says that knight f3, queen e4 is the move, which I have to be very honest with you, I don't quite grasp. Oh, I do! Queen e4, rook d8.
Rook takes d8. Oh my god.
Oh, the in-between checkerino. That hurts.
Beautiful.
This is what we should have asked from the crowd. My bad. Okay, back to Vidit, because the action is now fully on, and the bar is dropping, Tanya. The bar is dropping. The bar is now on the younger Indian player's side. Prague is looking to do some damage by the looks of things.
Because Vidit just went for knight a5 and gave up the a2 pawn, and we felt that was a little dangerous, no? This call to give up the a2 pawn.
Very dangerous.
But what's going on? After knight a5, bishop a2, f takes e5. Let's just have that on the board. You just take knight e5 because then there might be d4 stuff. So what does white want, and maybe knight e5 is possible here.
Maybe I can even play d5 first to neutralize all your threats before I do my own.
d5.
But you are right, actually. The evil goes here. The evil goes knight e5.
Because
wowzers.
It just doesn't feel like d4 can work.
Oh my god. Now this you can ask Tanya from the chat. This is some next level tactic here.
I think I know what you want. I think I know what you want. Okay, chat, let's do this. Black to play. This is tough. I'm not sure if I've got it right, but I think I know. I think I've guessed the move. Okay,
I think you know it, Tanya.
Position.
I think you do know it, and boy, what a move.
All right, chat. d4, pinning that knight on e5. Maybe it's not the only way, actually, but I do have something in mind. It'll be interesting to see if Andras has that in mind as well, but let's see what chat feels about the position. Okay, so we're getting some different options. I see two options. Sarvesh going with Sarvesh and I think I'm going to pronounce this name wrong, but Joaquin going with rook f2, and Shanks mentioning queen g4. And my idea was also rook f2.
I knew that you wanted rook f2, and that's the move. That is the move.
Done. Well done to Holy Smoker, to Loris, to Let's Get Real, Sarvesh, and myself.
Indeed, first and foremost, after the check, the queen is going to fall. Actually, there's a beautiful line here.
There's rook e6 as well, but the point is rook b2, yes.
Look at this. Checkmate. Wow.
Well done, chat. We did it. Well, none of this happened, of course, on the board. And no d4 was played. So let's go back and take a look at what Prague went. He did not take knight e5.
But now, Tanya, the whole evaluation situation is upside down.
Literally upside down.
Yeah, if I cancel out rook b2, which frankly, I don't even think it's a threat, because I just take it.
And the bishop on a2 is trapped now.
Yeah, I don't even know what he wants. Like, even if I just play rook f1 for argument's sake.
Wow. And we're also getting some update from chat. There has been some turnaround in on the Magnus board as well. And Eric seems to be holding on. Wow. Yeah, that's definitely Eric holding on, no?
If only he had time. I mean, this is still going.
Can you go queen c2 here? Can you go queen c2?
Take g4.
Takes king d2.
Yeah, you are in the square of the pawn. So yes, I think you can. It's not something you want to calculate, but I think you can.
So queen c8 and queen c2 is what, I mean, just instinctively, it feels like the b2 pawn is going to be much stronger and your king comes in time to stop the black pawns. Eric definitely looking at the queen trades right now.
So what do you do if I just go something like queen b8?
Well, I just say I'm a pawn up. He goes queen c3. So he goes, the only thing that I felt with queen c3 was that I would rather have the pawn on b2 than on c3.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's fine because you can't enter that endgame no matter what.
That's
true. Now he will take g5 and then he will go queen g3.
I mean, Eric is more than holding on to this one. If anyone's pushing now, it's Eric.
Certainly. But it might actually come handy for me to, 2 out of 2 correct guesses for the first 2 boards, because I guess this one to be a draw. Yeah, Sam.
And that was a bold pick. And I think if anybody's trying now, it's Eric. But is it enough for a win? We'll find out. Do you want to, because this one's going to be a long grind, do you want to take a look at another board?
Yeah, let's have a look at how Aryan Pari is doing.
Yes.
This had a lot more to it than what came out of it. He played bishop b4. Remember how we discussed the correct moves being the queen to the c file, and now it looked like Anish managed to actually trade off and regain the pawn. This is definitely no more than equal, but I think Anish is happy with that considering how it started. And I don't know if the draw is good enough for Tari. I think it is going to be actually good enough for him to qualify. And this endgame looks very drawish.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine. Again, white's pawn structure is slightly better. And if I had to pick a color, I think I would pick white because the knight is jumping onto d5, jumping onto f5, but definitely black also advancing. For example, knight e3, f5 next, and has his own counterplay. I think they might just repeat at this moment, knight d4, king e7, and that's it. They've done it.
Yeah,
Wow.
that everyone is happy with that result. So that, I think, secures Aryan Tari's top 8 position. So let's have a look at what David Anton is doing, because that could be an interesting one. I predicted the draw here because that seems to be my course of action for tonight.
But this is still a very rich position. It's
Indeed,
quite
and
far from draw, I think.
look at the Spaniards' time. That is not a pretty image. 30 seconds.
And g5, is that good or is that panic?
It's looking panic, and I was just quickly looking at the standings. Hang on, can't we just take on e5 and then g5?
So you want to start with d takes e5, and after, okay, that's a very good question, because let's just show that, let's just have that on the board, g5. So you want to look at d takes e5. Now the knight from f7 can't jump onto e5 because the g5 pawn falls, and even if you trade here, then you pick up g5, and that's a fork. So
I think the idea, Tania, is to come.
G6.
Yeah, to come here, which makes me wonder if it's better to start with the knight take and
All
getting
right, I'll
that.
go knight d e5 anyway.
Yeah, but at least now I don't have the clumsy knight on c4.
Knight d e5 here.
Yeah, I don't know. I just take this.
And knight g5.
And yeah, okay, maybe there is a bit
I mean,
of,
this is play. After knight takes g5, queen g5, e5 hanging, g3 hanging.
Yeah.
This is something.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree.
You know, I don't know if g5 is good or bad, but it changes the dynamics of the position. And I think that's what it's all about. David Anton's low on the clock. He needs to try and create a mess. Because otherwise white anyways is in full control. So I like that he chose the move g5 instead of sitting passive with 35 seconds.
Yeah, I think this is the problem, Tania, though. This is the problem.
And if queen g7? Oh, then you take and go f4.
Yes. Yes. Or perhaps I can go even f4.
Or maybe knight f4 as well. Well, this should be fine for white.
Yeah, there are actually several ways to make it painful for black. So
and knight e5 on the board, and we've got this position that we're looking at. It's been played out. Knight takes g5, but queen e3 is not an easy spot. I really like this move, but it's not an easy spot.
Yeah, it's not easy to spot. But once again, for a 2700, I would be willing to bet. Not quite a real estate property, Tanya, but. You know, quite a bit. Let's just go. I don't know why did
life more on the edge.
I couldn't agree more. Yes, let's put my car on it then, shall we? Just so that I even up the game. That this one of these guys will come.
Okay, no, I know, but I agree. And queen e3 on the board.
Yes, I like my car a lot. So
I'm houseless. You're carless. This broadcast has worked out great for us.
No. I said this would be played.
Oh yes, you said this would be played. Oh yes. So it's just me who's houseless currently.
Yeah, I still keep my lovely car. Thank you very much. Oh, look at this. This is chaos. Eric is losing according to the bar.
Because f1 is coming way faster than the h or the g pawn. You go, where's the king going? Where do you not give a check? King h7. King h7 is the square. But then g6, king h6. I think king h7 it has to be. I think it has to be
after
king
g6
h7.
you just can take, and he's gonna mop up. This is a
Yeah,
tragedy.
you can take queen g6. You can take king h6. Where is he going to go after h6?
What happened, Tania, here?
I think Eric just choked at some point in this. I mean, it just looked like he's the one who's got that extra pawn.
Yeah, this is tragic. This is real tragic.
And now it's just all about Magnus. And Magnus has got 7.5 minutes on the clock. That's insane amount of time in this position to figure out where you want to move the king. All right, let's take a look at this. Just looks busted for Eric. Well, the point is that white pawns are just too slow. Black a move away. I don't know, even king g6 is tempting, but I feel king h7 it has to be. He's going for it. Let's see where he moves the king.
I want to show you something cool. So this was the point when Eric lost the, actually no, sorry, he went queen g4. What am I looking at here?
This looks lost already, no?
No, this was the point when he lost the game, and the very natural queen b4 holds.
Oh,
and
that's
the idea
super nice
is
because you want to go queen e7.
Yeah, but the point is that if you take g5, then I have this check to pick up this.
Or queen c3. You can go queen b7 or queen c3 and pick up the pawn on f3.
Yeah,
he
either or.
king
You're
g6,
right.
by the way. So h6, he goes king g6, and after queen e6, he wants to pick up the g5 pawn. That's his idea. And the eval bar agrees with king g6.
Yeah.
All right, so looks like Magnus has it under control. And while these kind of positions, I think he just never, he's so precise with this stuff. And after queen e5, what does he want after queen e5?
I think he's just going to walk it down.
He's just walking it down closer to the pawn, yeah?
Yeah, I believe so. By the way, David Anton went for a crazy rucksack. And
Wait,
apparently, this holds.
What? Can we just, have you seen Vidit's position? It's just over.
Whoa, what?
What just happened there?
What? How, man? What did you do?
This is unbelievable.
She should be dead lost here. It has to be dead lost for black, right? Like there's no play on the board whatsoever.
There's not, maybe there's queen f3 allowing queen d4.
Yeah, but even then, this is covered.
Even then, it's defended.
And now I think this is what he missed.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
okay, this is a bit of a heartbreak for Vidit.
So what is the move here, Tania? Perhaps just queen f2 to cover the c5 knight? Oh, this is unreal. Poor Vidit.
Yeah, because I think Prague, for him, it was, he was in regardless of what would happen, but Vidit needed to win this game to have a shot at qualifying. And it felt like he got so close with some amazing play out of the opening.
Yeah, this is absolutely tragic.
How did it finish?
By the way, according to the engine, even here, queen e7 white is winning. And rook f8 is 7,000 question marks, and he just walked into this mate.
Wow, just amazing stuff.
That is just awful to watch. Queen g5 was still at the very worst a draw, but in fact, the engine claims an advantage. Actually, queen e5 is the move.
But this is super hard to find. And I think a draw just doesn't cut it for Vidit regardless. So it's a desperate situation.
Yeah, no, you're right. So queen e5 was the move to play here, but now it's already messy. He shouldn't have allowed this whole shenanigan here. But at this point, he's just completely killing it.
Amazing stuff. All right, we've got a very crucial round still on. We've got a very crucial game, actually, the only game on, which is David Anton, who's fighting for his life right now. He is on the brink. He's on the edge, really, for qualification. He needs to make sure that he doesn't mess this up. What happened to the Hari game, actually? Because, no, Hari lost. So maybe David Anton is in regardless, because only Hari and Vidit could catch up.
That's right, and both lost. So I don't think he knows it, but he can actually afford losing now. Not that he would want to anyway, but
and maybe he's not going to lose this because you've at least got, because let's take a look at the standings. All right, so we've got David Anton still playing, Aryan Tari's through, Hari and Vidit lost, and Neil's grand list is at 16, and Neil's also lost. So yeah, this is I think this is fine for David. But let's take a look at his position, because I don't think he's going to lose this one regardless. I think he holds.
Nah.
And you predicted this. You predicted this.
Yeah, but unfortunately I didn't predict the Eric Hansen game after all correctly, so I lost that bet. Yeah, and by the way, Hoodie Boy won the tournament. Sorry, not the tournament, the preliminaries. So
Yeah.
I dressed up most appropriately for this round.
Absolutely. Anish Giri takes the preliminaries, while the top spot in the preliminaries finishes at the top of the leaderboard, and now it just comes down to this game. But it looks like with Vidit and Hari failing to win the last round, David Anton is safe.
Yes, yes. So the Spanish will be definitely in the knockout stage. Now, do you know, Tania, the knockout stage, how that's going to be paired? I don't know the regulations there. Is it the first against the 8th, the second
That's
against
right.
the 7th?
That's right.
That's it. So we are going to have then David Anton against Anish Giri, Carlsen against Tari. So that will be a Aryan Tari, a Norwegian encounter, right?
Yes. You know,
That-
I'm just looking at this Anton game because chat just pointed out that there was a moment when Jordan was winning completely.
Yeah,
And there was a
I saw the bar jumping like mad, like a move
What
or
just
two ago.
happened there? If we just back up, I think it was after.
Oh,
What happened?
Oof.
What happened?
King
What
H5
happened?
check, counter check.
All right, so king comes up. Let's say king h7.
And I think there is this mechanism where you start covering yourself up. So something like check, king up, and rook g5. And the queen will find itself short of squares, I
But there's
think.
queen h1,
Then king g6.
queen e4.
And then I start walking f6. Oh, I can't. Wait. Yeah,
And
it
there's
is rook
queen f4
g5.
then.
So check. I go here. Where do you go here?
Yes. King f6, queen f4.
So maybe I go here.
Queen h4, rook h5. Yeah, maybe queen h4, rook h5, and you're threatening.
Yeah,
rook
yeah, that's the
f8.
plan. Yeah, yeah, and then I will have this cover check here.
Wow.
Yeah. But now we have something altogether different when it feels like black is actually pressing for a win. Although that king is really, really lonely on the h file, so now something like rook f8 could be
Bit of
quite
a death
effective.
zone for that black's king, no? I mean, like this king on h5, it's just trapped in a kill
Or
box.
oops, and then oops.
But then you'll pin.
Yes.
You'll go queen f3 or queen e4.
Yeah. I don't know if rook f8 or rook g1 is the cleanest to draw this now.
But I think black is out of danger now. I don't see the black king getting checkmated. So the whole theme was that white needs the king. White needs his own king to deliver mate on black. So you
Yeah,
had to go
that's
all
right.
the way up.
Yeah, it was quite wild. And I
That
think
was
this is
actually
gonna
quite
be
beautiful.
yeah, I think this is just a perpetual now, right? Check, 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 check.
Check, 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 check. Yes, it looks
Because if
like-
king
but
key,
there
then we
won't
have
be-
that check.
We have rook f3.
Yeah.
But then king h4. But I don't think anyone's trying to win this.
Hmm.
So
Actually,
rook
I even have
g2
rook. Wait a sec, I have this check as well. Because the
All
e file,
right.
the e file is taboo. You can't go there.
That's right. I think this would be this check, check, check seems to work, no? And you can't go on the 5th rank as well because of rook h5.
Correct. So in fact, black has to be very careful here. I think this is gonna be exactly the draw.
He
But
goes
he-
rook
he-
g2. He's going for the other check, 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 check.
Yeah.
But not anymore. Rook f3 and now king h4. Now rook h2, king g4 hits the rook.
Yeah, but what if I just... I don't know, what if... Yeah, I guess I just come back.
And then queen e4. I mean, I don't know. I don't think black can win this, but white did have this clean draw with rook g1 that you pointed out.
Yeah. That would have been the easiest.
Wow, rook g8. White is sort of playing with fire, no? Allowing.
I feel like it too. Like these moves feel so wonky. Like now the rook can be pinned. It just doesn't feel safe at all.
He gives a check first on e1.
Yeah, now has to go to king g2, but that's a mate in one threat. So
I mean, if you go rook g1, then you go queen e4.
Yeah, even then. Oh yeah, I agree with you. He's playing a little bit with fire here.
Yeah, it just feels like there's a little bit of miscoordination now between the two rooks. They were so beautifully placed next to each other, you know?
Yeah. And now it's they are not necessarily doing the job anymore as well. But now again, after queen e4, we have king g1 with another mate threat.
True. So maybe black just has to keep checking then.
Yes, or play queen e3 with a new pin, and then I just slide back up to g2.
David's down to 35 seconds, and he goes queen e1 check. Makes a lot of sense. And now, well, we might just see king g2, queen e4.
Yep, I think that's going to be the end of this story.
Rook f1 doesn't help because there's queen e3.
I don't know, Tanya. It's a very interesting question if he knows the rest of the results or not. Because
I'm not sure. Maybe we can ask. Let's ask.
That could influence his decision making here.
Oh, wow. Okay, lots of updates that I missed. Completely update. Oh my God, Jordan has to win this game. If Jordan wins, then David Anton goes home.
Wow.
And that's why the players continue to play. And that's why King H5 was such a massive moment. I completely missed this update.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. We totally forgot that Jordan is also on 17 points and he would leapfrog David, who's at 19 points. And he needs to win this game.
Wow. But that still raises the question that does David Anton know that a draw for him is good enough?
Oh my God. Unreal stuff. But it might just be too late now. I mean, Jordan definitely was aware before the start of the round that if he has any shot, he needs to win.
Yeah.
And it was down to that moment with King H5, which would have changed everything. Wow.
Yeah, but remember that Jordan was winning far earlier too when the situation occurred on the E5 capture. Remember when we looked at this? Like he was completely winning it here. So I don't know how it went out of hand, but this should be a winning position for white, right? Anyway, back to the game. Queen b1. Both players are playing a dead draw position for a win. Wow.
Just unreal. And now he was so close. And you can look at the disappointment in Jordan. I think he felt it that he had that moment and it just slipped. You know, with black's king stuck on the H file, the rook's on G1, F2, and that is it. David Anton survives. Oh my God.
Wow. What a way to finish.
Unbelievable stuff. Jordan Vanfour is so close with 17 points. If he would have won that, he would have leapfrogged and taken his spot into the quarterfinals. But this is where we are at the end of the preliminaries of the Chessable Masters. Anish Giri finishes at the top of the table with 29 points, and behind him, Magnus Carlsen with 28 points. Tinglarin Pragnananda, what a performance by Prag. He is the second Indian player ever to qualify into the knockout stages of the Champions Chess Tour after Arjun Erigaisi. So a brilliant performance by Prag. He's always been a bit of touch and go with him, had a great run at the Athens Masters, impressed us all at the Oslo Esports Cup. And this one, he gets the job done by qualifying into the knockouts. Wei, who also made his debut in the Champions Chess Tour, finds himself in the quarterfinals as well as Shak. David Anton survives a big scare there. There was a moment when he could have gotten checkmated Jordan creating his beautiful chances in a stunning game, really. Trying to create something, managed to do that, but did not manage to win. And with that, David Anton and Aryan Tari finished with 20 points. And these are the 8 players, Andras, who make it to the quarterfinals.
Fantastic finish. I think it was a really, really awesome afternoon, evening, or morning, wherever you are in the world, to watch these amazing players to battle it out to the last moment, to the last moves. Well, we definitely were entertained in the past 3 days, and we are looking to see even more entertainment in the knockout stage. I'm very excited to see what's to come, and I'm a little bit disappointed that as far as I'm concerned personally, this is going to be my last day. I think that we are going to hand you back to the very capable hands of Jan Gustafsson and Daniel King.
Absolutely. Well, it's been so much fun today, but a little disappointing, I think, for Hari. And, Vidit had his chances as well. But definitely a fantastic preliminaries for the 8 who qualified. And with that, let me see if we can just have our standings up one more time. Let's just have our standings up and show our audience where we are with the Chessable Masters. So it means Anish will play Aryan Tari, Magnus will play David Anton, Ding Liren will play Shakhriyar, and it'll be Pragnananda against Wei. But maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe Sotris, if you can just correct me, or is it 1 versus?
No, that's correct. You said it's 1, 8, 2, 7, 3, 6, and 4, 5. So Prague is playing. You can see the arrows on the left.
Yes, and there we have it. So we do have the arrows, and that is our knockout pairing. And well, the knockout, of course, is going to be very entertaining. There are no day 2s there. So you get one shot, one day, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's been super fun doing this with you, Andras. Chat, thank you so much for joining us. It's a good night from us, and join us tomorrow for the big quarterfinals here at the Chessable Masters.
Bye. Thank you.
It's time to take control of your journey towards chess mastery. Magnus Carlsen introduces Chessable, the definitive solution for studying chess. Move Trainer uses the science of spaced repetition to identify your strengths and eliminate your weaknesses. There's no need to set up a board, remember which page you're on, or keep track of all the moves you miss. Get started now and join our growing community of over 100,000 chess enthusiasts. Chessable, take control